So you say most people believe there is something dramatically wrong in this country. They're not sure what it is.
Got your labor next your soul, interest slave in endless hole. It's so deep you'll never leave, a text on key with no reprieve. Interest banking, future sold, paper money, fuck the gold. Print more money, there's no end, new interest rates thanks to the Fed. Inflation's up, we can't afford to import, source an endless hoard. Funding all this endless war, these the whores I must ignore. Feeling good, yeah that's my price. The system lets me have my vice. Bread and circus feels nice, feeling bad, take this advice. Just take this pill, watch TV, smoke weed and chill. Sportsball parties, man the grill. Watch some porn, drain your vril. Endless pleasure, wait until the lights go out, the lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. The lights go out, the lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. Never thought that this would happen. Should've prepped instead of fapping. Tires screeching, people scream. Living nightmare, not a dream. There goes all my dopamine, wiping off my jerk off cream. I'm flabby, weak and unprepared to own a gun. I'm really scared. Water filters, batteries, cans of food and MREs. I really should've bought that shit before the social fabric ripped. Atomized, I'm all alone. No internet, can't scroll my phone. The lights go out, the lights are out. The lights go out. Came on, I can't believe, breathe a sigh of great relief. Boy, I love modernity, endless goon sesh never leave. If you're sad, just take this pill. Watch TV, smoke weed and chill. Football parties, man the grill. Watch some porn, join your grill. Endless pleasure, wait until the lights go out, the lights are out. The lights go out. The lights go out. The lights go out. The lights go out. The lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. The lights go out. The lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. The lights go out.
And we're live once again. I am your host, Capitalisimo. With me, as always, is Christopher Sandbatch on Library of Mass Destruction. How are you doing today, sir?
So, it's always, we always catch me in the middle of doing something strange. But as everyone knows, I survived yet another encounter with the Loas a couple of weeks ago, and well, it was less than 2 weeks ago still, and I was stuck in Arkansas for a while. And one of the things I found out when I was stuck in Arkansas was that my ID no longer works to get on airplanes because Louisiana is a backwoods hick state, and our IDs are not real ID compliant. And I have to do some traveling soon. I gotta go out to California for some stuff. I gotta go up to Washington, DC,
Washington.
District de Colombia. To do some stuff with the National Archives, and all of these things necessitating me sort of changing modes out of my sort of scumbag Tom Waits mode to my slightly less scumbag Tom Wolfe mode, and so I was shaving. Yeah, so I was shaving, and one day you'll get a job, and you'll fully commit to Thin White Duke. Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, I'm shaving, and I hadn't shaved in like 2 weeks, and I didn't finish in time for the start of the show. So I'm sitting here right now with like 1970s sideburns and like a gay porn trash stash, like gay porn, like huge bushy mustache.
You should have gone. You should have just shaved your chin and gone with the like Civil War colonel kind of.
I did for a minute. I did. I have
and mustache connection.
I did it, and I have pictures in every stage of it to prove that it happened. So as I was gonna say, as I was going to say, if you all sneed us super chats to $500, I will go to my.
It will be possible for him to purchase a real ID from.
Yeah, right. I will go take my real ID picture as a 1970s gay porn star and post the picture to Twitter.
So is the so I mean, what do you do? I mean, do you have a passport? I guess you could just use a passport, right?
You know, I need to get it. I need to get it done anyways. Like I said, I've got to go, like, because I don't like carrying. I'm one of those people that loses things, so I don't carry my I don't like carrying my passport around because those are difficult. Those are difficult to reacquire. You know.
Yeah, if you lose your passport, it's a whole thing.
I've lost my passport, and the only reason I have one right now is because I live in a city that has a passport office.
But don't all cities have passport offices?
No, they do not.
I'm pretty sure they do.
No, they don't. Because
I've never lived a place that doesn't have a passport office.
Most decent sized cities have one, but like Little Rock doesn't have one. So like people from Little Rock fucking come all the way.
An indecently sized burg.
Dude, there are all kinds of things that are wild about Little Rock that you like, and I actually knew this prior to my stranding there in the area because I got stranded in Memphis last year, and that schizophrenic e-girl I was dating was trying to get me to come to Little Rock, and I discovered that there is no Greyhound service to Little Rock.
Little Rock is as far as capital cities of states go, staggeringly small. It's really weird. It's really weird how small Little Rock is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's like 1 million people. It's like the same size as Anchorage.
It's bigger than New Orleans.
No fucking way.
There's only 330,000 people in New Orleans.
No. That's metro area.
Yeah, okay.
You're not talking about metro area. No, it's like yeah.
It's 1.2 million in the metro area. Louisiana's weird. Yeah. Louisiana's weird. I think there may be more people in the Baton Rouge metro area.
Okay, but how many demons are in New Orleans?
Shitloads. But
doubles the population during demon season.
Some state capitals are remarkably small. Sacramento is small compared to
compared to LA and
but I mean, there's some others that are sort of like Santa Fe is much smaller than Albuquerque. Let's see what else.
I can't ever take Albuquerque seriously because I watch too much
Breaking Bad. You've never seen Breaking Bad, have you?
No, it was all Looney Tunes when I was a kid. Albuquerque was always
Albuquerque, New Mexico. Turn left at Albuquerque.
That's right. So,
see what else?
Sandbatch leaves New Orleans and the demon population goes down.
It's so funny. It's true. I'm going to be traveling.
We're just following you for.
Yeah, I'm going to be traveling about the country. I've got an exciting project on board. There's two things going on in the project world. I finally set a release date for this book that I've been talking about. It's going to come out on August 29th. It's the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, and interesting. Yeah. It's for magnetic resonance energy. The 20th anniversary of the great traumatic event of my life. So we're gonna have that.
That's the one that wins Hurricane Katrina.
Not even close, dude.
I was gonna say, you said it was the great traumatic event of your life.
It's not even close. It is not even close. Yeah, I mean, by a lot. I have terrible nightmares about Hurricane Katrina still. Not so much the storm, but the days after were awful. They were absolutely awful. It's almost like Black woman sob story awful. But the storm itself, I have very dim memories of because it came in early in the morning. And so we were asleep for most of it. But I do have I don't know how many of y'all have been through a really large hurricane. Like you've been through a hurricane. Yeah, what the fuck ever. Hurricanes, you know, they have there's a 5 category scale. Category 1 hurricanes, fucking bullshit. Category 2 hurricanes, obnoxious. At category 3, they become legitimately frightening because there's sort of a logarithmic scale of damage that's done. Waking up in a city like New Orleans in the middle of a very strong category 3, or actually nobody really knows how strong. I don't know why we don't know how strong Hurricane Katrina was, but it's like,
yeah, you'd think that it would have, yeah.
But because there's like Louisiana does all this shit for insurance fraud, and you know, like it's hard to say. But I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and like, cause I grew up in a house that was about 200 years old. Okay, so like,
yeah,
and so like, you know, it's wooden, and like the whole house was shaking. Like it's just like when you're in a storm, there's so much kinetic energy being transferred in, you know, to like the land mass and the air over the land mass, that like the air itself becomes like a speaker, like a speaker membrane. And so like there's this like, they will frequently call it like a freight train sound, but it's not a freight train sound. It's just kind of like a
omnipresent rumbling.
Yeah, that's what it is. But it's like coming from the air itself. Like
yeah.
It has it, like, you know, in Twin Peaks season 3, when what's his face is looking for the buzzing sound in the room, it's like that. Except like there doesn't appear to be any source of the noise.
So apparently, I just looked it up. Apparently, I have not been through a hurricane, because when Hurricane Helene reached Asheville, North Carolina, it had been downgraded to a tropical storm. So
were you doing disaster tourism?
No, I was. How could I have been doing disaster tourism, because nobody knew that it was going to be that bad? But yeah,
my brother was in Asheville.
But I watched I might be your brother. Who knows?
I've seen you considerably more recently than I've seen my brother.
I watched a brewery get washed down the French Broad, but I was there with my wife. We were going on a vacation, see Biltmore and all that nice stuff, and coincidentally get hit by a hurricane. So
I love Asheville, by the way.
It's awesome. Asheville's the tits.
People in the area, like people in that like part of the country, will be like, you know, no, damn shit lives up in Asheville. And I'm like, and I lived in Asheville for a while. Well, I didn't live in Asheville. I've lived in Spartanburg in South Carolina, and I've lived in Black Mountain in North, which is like a ritzy suburb of Asheville. And I always tell people, I was like, if like the level of rank shit livery in Asheville bothers you, you got some real problems, because it is one of the most. It's like Mark Meadows was the member of the House of Representatives from there. I'm like, it's like one of the most red-coated metro areas in the country. I'm like, if you think that's bad, do not visit New Orleans. Do not visit Austin. You're not gonna make it. You know.
Right. So yeah. Yeah, but a tropical storm, I do have to say, is not really worse than like a regular Midwest thunderstorm.
Yeah, no, but
it's just that when it hit it's just that, obviously,
yeah,
Western North Carolina got completely screwed, but that's because of the way that the watershed was,
that water, because there's no topsoil, the water just hits the mountains, and rolls down.
Goes into the valley. Turns out that's what mountains do. They're big funnels.
Right. Tropical storms can be scary if you're right on the coast. Like if you're right on the coast, when one comes in, they can get a little spooky. But if God forbid, if you're on the water.
Well, okay.
You've already done a lot of shit wrong if you're on the water.
I don't want to be storm. I don't want to be on a thunderstorm, in Lake Michigan either, but
we need a soundboard so we can do Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald right there.
Right. All right. Well, So let's get into today's reading. It is I looked ahead in this book, and I have to say there are several false endings. This is a Peter Jackson's Return of the King level multiple false endings. It's the conspiracy today and what is going to happen in the future, but unfortunately, history refuses to end, and it just keeps happening. There are no final victories. You are here forever. So, we finished with Reagan. This book was published in '84, so they did not know what was coming, and they.
I wonder if they have to get a new ISBN every time they add an essay. Do you know? And I hate to
I'm sure they don't.
I've been looking. No, I mean I think you do. Like at least on Amazon, anytime you make any quote substantial unquote change, they make you change ISBNs. You know, like just before we get into it, because I've been looking into this for like a lot of reasons, and like
because you're publishing something at the end of the month.
Yeah, and it's funny because you would think that I would know more about this, but I don't. And also, like, because I'm self-publishing it, by the way, because people ask me who are you doing this with. I'm actually self-publishing this one for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is because I don't trust anybody else. I don't trust anybody else to get this right because it's actually kind of it's a little avant. But you also
have no shortage of people who would want to do it with you, and if you picked any single one of them, someone would feel slighted.
That is exactly also another. So I'm like the first, and then also there's a very strange feature of the way I go about doing things, which is that I won't do anything unless I can prove to myself that I can do all of it. Okay. So I'm like, okay, this is the first book. I'm going to do every aspect of it. So like, this is like page design and everything like that. And it's hard. I was talking to Tom.
Oh yeah. So are you getting into paper pulping? Are you getting?
No, I didn't go that far. I'm like the Amish. I want to, though. I do want to. That's like I published that Blake stuff. I actually really do want to get it. I do want to push the supply chain that far back in the future. If I
you can actually completely publish a book. You can completely publish a book in a single year if you grow hemp. By the way, you can make sufficient amount of paper.
Yeah, and that actually
grow it fast enough. You couldn't do it with a tree. Tree.
Hemp paper also is very good paper for much better than the stuff that sort of pressed wood pulp paper that we tend to use. But anyway, yeah. So I'm doing the typesetting for it and everything, and this also involves getting an ISBN. Do you know because you're an alt-lit guy. Do you know how absurd the ISBN grift is?
Oh yeah, no, there's
one company named after a very prominently shamelessly flaunts their ethnicity. And the ISBN grift is so insane that they charge $125 for one ISBN, but they charge $295 for 10.
Yep.
It's fucking nuts.
Yep. That's why you gotta publish 10 books, kid.
Yeah, no, it's literally. So I'm like, I guess I'm buying 10. Fuck.
Yep. So I eagerly await your first, second, and so on through your 10th book.
The first two are going to come fast. I may actually do an Annus Mirabilis this year because I told you in the process of writing the one that the name of it's Lift the Wind, Love the Heat. But the name in the process of writing this one, I didn't intend at all to publish poetry. Whenever I first started writing poetry, I was just going fucking crazy in a cemetery in Arkansas, and I sat down and started writing poems, and I ended up with a little over 200 of them whenever I stopped writing and started arranging. And there's, I think, 96 in no there's fewer. It's fewer than that. There's because 96 is the total. There are a little over 70, I think, in there are a little over 70 in the book. And then there was enough to make.
If you don't make the book thick enough to have its name on the spine, I swear to God,
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it is going to be. It's going to be
worst.
It's going to be
worst.
No, it's like, again, you people are so novel happy. It is not normal.
It is completely normal to have the name of the volume on the spine.
That's true, but in the case of poetry collections, we tend to run way shorter.
I have many poetry collections with the name on the spine.
Okay, yeah, and I'm gonna say more than I have anywhere else. It's framed as a very specific project, which is it's a poetic symphony. So it's arranged like a symphony. So it has like kind of a hard limit on the length. It's right at the length where I can possibly. I'm getting proofs to see. The name is on the spine right now.
Just put it in the pocketbook format so that it can. So that
that's what it's going to be in.
Yeah. So
5.5 by 8.5. I think. Well, I could.
Way smaller than that.
No, I can't do that. I can't do that though because I've used what's called projective verse in some of the poems, and like, this is the difference between typesetting for poetry and typesetting for like a novel. Because the book you got pulled up here, you can just format it as a string of text, and you can essentially let it paginate itself. But like I've done like breath scoring, and so like there has to be, each page actually had to be designed with sort of spacing. So I had to do all the setting in latex, which is cool. Which is actually cool. I love latex. It's fucking cool as shit. It's fun. But it's hard. It was a lot. I was talking to Tom Will about this, and I was like, dude, fucking making a book is harder than writing a book. And he was like, I don't mess with any of that shit, man.
Yep. Well, okay. Speaking of a book that was harder to get through than it was to make, and we're right. Call it Conspiracy. We are on chapter 12. I think there are 14 of them, 14 being the epilogue. And this is the shortest one, and this is the shortest chapter of the book, so I feel like we're going to get through it pretty quickly. But the conspiracy today. As we look back over the decades and try to get a handle on the conspiracy and its tentacles, the picture can become very confusing. The Illuminati, the League of Just Men, the Royal Institute, the Round Table Group, the Pilgrim Society, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergers, the Trilateral Commission, the Order, by your powers combined, I am Captain Planet. All of these groups have played or are playing a vital role towards the bringing about of the New World Order. And because of that reality, one of the favorite games of the anti-conspiratorialists is to try and pinpoint the real conspiracy. The problem is that if you take the Bavarian Illuminati and bring it all the way forward to the Trilateral Commission, you actually don't have a conspiracy.
I think these conspiracies that we keep talking about end up being every prominent person ever.
Yeah, people in power using power to benefit themselves. It must be some kind of conspiracy. Anyway,
Curtis Yarvin meme.jpg.
Exactly. It can't be a conspiracy if that's the point from the beginning. Yeah. Personally, I have come to the conclusion that somewhere within the membership of all of the aforementioned groups lies a nucleus of an inner circle of the conspiracy. But I am equally convinced that within the membership of all the contemporary groups, such as the Council on Foreign Relations or the Trilateral Commission, there are people whose intentions are honorable and in all likelihood diametrically opposed to the ultimate goals of the organizations to which they lend their names and influence. I believe this is because I have come to know many members of the Council on Foreign Relations personally, and after lengthy conversations with them have come to the conclusion that they don't have the slightest idea what's going on above them, or how really small the ruling group is in relation to the membership as a whole. This tactic of using good people as cover for real objectives was first used by Adam Weishaupt in the Illuminati and has been a vital part of every conspiratorial group since that time. I fucking guarantee you that the people in the rank and file have never known the full picture of what an organization was doing. It was not invented by the Bavarian Illuminati. There is no fucking way. And also, this is what everyone says about every single group. When someone is like, well, I'm a Freemason, and all of our meetings are about what cigars are best. And they're like, well, that's because they don't invite you to the secret meetings.
You don't get to go to the Bavarian Illuminati the Bavarian Illuminati are so boring, they're interesting to me. And
the thing is that it's like, oh, well, yeah, but I'm like in control of the finances of this Freemasonic lodge. And so what is going on above me where they gave me the wallet?
Where's all this money from the spaghetti supper going?
Yeah, where is it all going? I know where it's going. I know where the accounts are. Yeah, it's like, so, and there's nothing there. There's dudes talking about Albert Pike and having bourbon and cigars in a very cool building, all of which is based. But anyway, but people say, well, you're not the, high mucky muck. You're not a 33rd degree 33rd degree Scottish Rite Mason, which I guess is true, but
I bet you're close, aren't you?
I mean, look, man, the truth look, the truth is you can get to 17 in one day.
Yeah, I know.
Like it's like, yeah, they have these things where you just like go and you watch 17 miniature plays, and congratulations, you are a 17th degree Scottish Rite Mason.
So Elizabethan. Yeah. One of my a really good older friend of mine is the Grand Master of South Carolina.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, I know plenty of current and past grandmasters of states. But L. Ron Hubbard was not a Mason. Their structure is pretty different, actually. So a lot of fraternal organizations just copied the Freemasons. And there are reasons for that. One, I mean, they are the most prominent fraternal organization.
It's an effective structure.
It is an effective structure, but also all of the laws related to fraternal groups, and fraternal groups have multiple, like they have 501c status, but they're not 501c3s. They're 501c10s and 501c10s and 501c8s are fraternal organizations, and fraternal organizations like falling under that have a lot of advantages, but they have prescriptive organizational models. So you have to follow the hierarchy that the Freemasons put in place in order to take advantage of those tax statuses. So
wait, which one is a 10? Which one is that? The one that
10 is the grand lot. 10 is the big one.
Yeah.
And the and 8 is all the small ones.
Right. Yeah.
So
but the thing that's real interesting is that as soon as you designate, because I've been involved in setting up a C8 before, and as soon as you designated a C8, you immediately have to start providing mutual benefits. Like they're not fucking around. Like you have to.
You can't just have it. You can't just have it. You can't just have it sitting out there, right? So. You have to actually be operating, and you have to actually have membership, and you have to have meetings. I mean, it's just like you form an LLC and you have to have an operating agreement, right?
Everyone in the right wing just acts like Gollum from Lord of the Rings with indirect sunlight. Meetings.
Yeah.
No,
we hates it. We hate Robert's Rules of Order.
I love Robert's Rules of Order.
Of course you do.
I have a very nice. I don't keep a lot of books around. I have a very nice copy of Robert's Rules of Order.
truly insane. That's your craziest quality. The fine binding Robert's Rules of Order. Oh my god! I'm sure you have a completely illuminated copy of Strunken White's Elements of Style.
No, it's not. No, it's
White.
but there is one, and it's Fowler's The King's English is the one I have a really nice copy of. I knew you were going to Style Guides next, and I was going to try to front run you. You were right in spirit, but you had the wrong specific.
The wrong one. Actually, I kind of thought that probably you would not be a Strunken White stan.
It's not bad, but Fowler's is incredible. It's like it's perfect.
More fair than foul. Take the CFR, for example. Its permanent roster now numbers approximately 2,300 men and women, yet the real movers and shakers are but a handful. In the over 60 years existence of the CFR, there have been only 3 chairmen: R.C. Leffingwell, John J. McCloy, and David Rockefeller. There have been 4 vice chairmen: Grayson Kirk, Cy Vance, Douglas Dillon, and Carol Wilson. Presidents number only 9. J.W. Davis, the Democrats' presidential candidate in 1924, George Wilkersham, Norman H. Davis, R.C. Leffingwell, Allen Dulles, Henry Riston, Grayson Kirk, Bayless Manning, and Winston Lord. A lot of overlap there, a little incestuous.
That is a fascinating
Winston Lord.
That is a fascinating list of people who are also whose names are all on the list of names to give my first child, whether or not it's a boy or girl.
The waspy, how?
Yes.
Can you get waspier than Winston Lord? You can only get waspier if your name is Lord Winston Lord.
I think J.W. Wilkersham wins the. Cy Vance is also terminally wasp coded. The Leffingwell, wow.
Cy Vance, to me, Cy Vance sounds really Scots-Irish.
It is that one is.
Of course it does. Yeah, of course it does, because of Cy Vance, the grandfather of J.D. Vance. Is not
he
true.
Was almost. He was true. Also almost. He was almost 100% certain named after Cy Young, the baseball pitcher.
The editorship of the CFR's quarterly periodical, a super secret conspiracy that has a quarterly periodical. Foreign Affairs has seen only 4 people in these many years: Archibald C. Coolidge, Hamilton Fish Armstrong, William P. Bundy, and William Highland. Hamilton Fish Armstrong.
Hamilton Fish. Yeah. He's another one. These are
all.
We also
talked about Salmon P. Chase, Salmon Portland Chase earlier on this show.
None of these people are secretive at all. These are all names that at the time this book.
Yeah, I mean, written, fucking Allen Dulles was the former president. So yeah, exactly. It is interesting and not irrelevant that Harvard University's prestigious Russian Research Center is located in Archibald Carey Coolidge Hall.
I've been there.
Archibald Carey Coolidge is the type of name. Okay, the waspiest name is when you can rearrange any single name in any order, and it will sound as cogent. Right?
Yeah, every bit. The palindrome aspect of wasp names. They're just as waspy forward as backwards.
Exactly. A close examination of the board of directors, past and present, reveals a game of musical chairs, with the players being small in number versus the membership as a whole. Yet this close-knit group has without a doubt wielded more power over more people with more devastating results than any similarly small number in recorded human history. I feel like if we seriously took a look at that, we would find that it was obviously false. So, I mean, I don't know, whatever the top level is of the Communist Party of Russia, right? How many? There weren't that many goddamn people. They all, they ended up going. Yeah, I mean, they ended up like all dying of old age until Andropov got made premier, right? Like just based on good attendance. So like there couldn't have been that many. But anyway, however, it must be pointed out that a few members of the CFR have hurt the plans for the New World Order by their actions. The person who most quickly comes to mind was the late Admiral Chester Ward, and more recent examples are Arnaud de Borchgrave, Midge Decter, Norman Podhoretz, J. Peter Grace, and former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Jean Kirkpatrick. I've also become convinced that considering the history of conspiracies, their method of recruitment, their circles within circles, and most importantly, their manipulation of unsuspecting initiates, we will probably never know the name or members of the inner circle. I think you probably do. I think you probably listed them.
Norman Podhoretz, by the way, is the arch neocon. He's
I know
the neocon guy.
It's so weird. It's so weird that we didn't. It's so weird that Norman Podhoretz was listed as one of the good ones, or one of the ones who has hurt the New World Order goals, which I guess is fucking true. Like just because of what neoconservatism did to the power of the United States. But
yeah, I've been really interested in how they were going to treat the neocons, and like it has not, because like again, I always like never tire of pointing out that I knew and worked with a lot of these guys, and I expected that they would have already been way more angry about the neoconservatives than they were. But in this book, they seem like appeasers in this book.
I mean, in 1984, I don't feel like you could have. I think on the last episode, I said appeasement is the gayest possible criticism of anything.
You did. It's exactly why
you said that. But also, it would have been somewhat difficult to suss out what the eventual consequences of neoconservatism would be in 1984, right? So, Trotskyism, but we do it. That's it. What is more important? It isn't necessary. What is so vitally imperative is to know the game plan and to counter the moves and measures to bring it about. This is not to say that we shouldn't put the heat on the CFR or Trilateral Commission or any of the other groups mentioned above. In fact, if enough pressure is brought to bear in revealing the true nature and goals of the organization, the good people will get out and take their credibility, money, and protective covering with them. If this happens, the good Muslims will start criticizing the the real insiders will be standing alone for all the world to see. Yet you may rest assured that they will launch some other group within some equally innocuous or high-sounding name and start the recruitment process all over again. The fight for freedom and the rolling back of the insiders' communist onslaught is not going to be fought by scouring pages of who's who or dusty archives. Rather, it will be fought and won by correcting the bipartisan treason and the policies of the past 60-odd years. Again, if it is the explicit power, it can't be a conspiracy. This is the explicit power. If we change the policies of the U.S. government, both at home and abroad, the game is over. And those who will be like God will slither back into the darkest regions and wait to prey on man's ignorance in some future time. The answer is voting. What he's suggesting is that we should just vote the bastards out.
Vote the bastards out.
What is to be done? Vote the bastards out.
That's literally. I used to work with these guys, and that was the thing that always fascinated me about them, is that at the end of the day, they always genuinely believed in the power of voting. And this tended to be, I think, because a lot of them were Southerners. And as an example, Nancy Mason. Well, no, we won't go into that. But Nancy Mason announced that she was going to run for governor of South Carolina, and I immediately recognized what had happened, because the machine that is the opposition machine to the Charleston, is the one that I worked for, and I was like, oh my God, They just got her to give up her seat, but it's because they do electioneering very well, but they're remarkably myopic. They're remarkably myopic outside of electoral politics. Like they actually really this is the Southerners' worst characteristic politically, is that we actually believe in voting.
Horrifying.
Yeah,
horrifying. What is to be done? Chapter 13. As readers, put this book aside. Yes, done. No problem. They may have a number of reactions. Some will poo-poo the idea of the conspiracy, perhaps because they lack the intellectual honesty to break with a lifetime of being conned by the picture painters of the media and or the classroom. No, it's because we already knew it was there. Again, I guess this book was very successful in making all of us incredibly cynical.
It's more successful than Nutcracker, is what I was going to say. No offense, Dan. Sorry.
Whoa. More successful than Nutcracker. Yeah. Perhaps because they lack the intellectual honesty to break with a lifetime of being conned by the picture painters of the media and or the classroom. They will go on about their business, but as they watch the future and see the same names continue to crop up time after time, with the result being the increasing loss of freedom both at home and abroad, a doubt may start to creep into their minds. They may push it back because the conspiracy theory is simplistic, but they may start to lack conviction. Somehow I lost my... Oh, there we go. Some will ultimately come to see that the logic of it all cannot be suppressed and join the fight, but most will not. Their hearts are hardened and their souls are dead. What a pity. What a waste. With luck, however, they will not represent the majority. Most readers at this point will fall into two categories. Those who will ask, what is to be done? And others who will say to themselves, nothing can be done. The problem is too big. Let me address the latter group first by telling a story that happened just a short time ago. So Dr. Gary North and I were having a lovely dinner with my oldest and dearest friend, Sam Parks, and his wife, Bobby. Bobby's a dear. In the course of the conversation, Bobby, who had just recently been introduced to the scope of the conspiracy and its role in our lives, asked the inevitable question, can anything this powerful possibly be defeated by anything except an active God? Everyone gasped. Gary North and I both jumped to answer, with my comment being that when Gary, Sam, and I started our involvement in the freedom movement back in the late 50s and early 60s, we're a bunch of crazy kids. You know how it is. Anyway, we could have taken all the people who felt the way we did and held a meeting in a large phone booth. That means to say there weren't a whole lot of us. And it was a little fashionable at the time to cram as many people as possible into a phone booth. It was kind of a thing. We didn't have a lot of TV then. Anyway, but now there are millions who share our conviction and determination. We both hasten to assure her that the freedom idea was on the march. Then Gary told her the story of Whittaker Chambers and how he took on the whole of the conspiracy's establishment when he pushed Alger Hiss into suing him for libel, and in the subsequent trial wherein Hiss was convicted of perjury for denying his role in the communist espionage ring. Boy, was his face red. Anyway, college students today, indeed yesterday, these kids, don't remember the story of Hiss and Chambers. In the mid-1970s, William F. Buckley asked an audience of college students who Alger Hiss was, and not one hand went up. William F. Buckley laughed and spontaneously orgasmed in his pants because he was always a CIA plant. Anyway,
wait, hold on. I don't know. We're going to need some citations here,
liberals
buddy.
And conservatives still line up on opposite sides, even if they have long forgotten the details, just as they still do over the trial of Sacco and Vanzetti 2 decades earlier. Bunch of fucking Dagos. You can't trust Dagos. You really just can't. Anyhow, books are still being written and published that take up the cause of either Hiss or Chambers. Anyhow, Gary went on to explain how at the time Chambers decided to go public about his collaboration with Hiss and the communist cell operating in Washington, D.C. Chambers did so with a heavy heart, knowing the wrath he would call down upon his head, and that for reasons of his life, he would walk with the hatred of all those people who would rush to defend Alger Hiss, i.e. Secretary of State Dean Acheson. I will not turn my back on Alger Hiss. That's what he sounded like. Gary told Bobby about how in leaving the Communist Party in the late 1930s, Chambers fell in with the malaise of the West being what it was. He was probably leaving the winning side for the losing side. He later testified before a congressional investigating committee that he had told someone at the time I know that I'm leaving the winning side for the losing side, but it's better to die on the losing side than live under communism. He said basically what I just said. Anyhow, as soon as I heard Gary recall the chamber story, I knew I'd found a source for this concluding chapter. I had been wrestling for weeks with a way to express the seriousness of the situation, yet to offer real optimism that many of us old warriors felt as we look back over the years to where we had been, what had been accomplished, and how we now felt. A vast multitude of people were ready to be mobilized for the final destruction of that hideous strength which has wreaked such havoc on the body of mankind throughout the 20th century. That's a C.S. Lewis reference.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's such a weird. Okay. Anyway,
there's another one of these guys that
everyone clapped. Everyone clapped.
Well, another one of these guys that, I mean, he was dead by the time I came around, but that was one of their friends was C.S. Lewis's personal. That's how the C.S. Lewis shit filtered into the American right. Was this guy? He was C.S. Lewis's personal secretary, but he was also a revisionist Confederate historian for some reason. It's all kinds of wild stuff. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oswald Art says, now Sandbatch better watch his back. The DC crankers are out for you. What you don't understand is I'm coming there and it's going to be you all locked in.
You better watch. I better watch.
You all are locked in.
You better watch your front.
Yeah, you all are locked in the DMV with me, not the other way around. I'm gonna get I got literally have Lindsey Graham on speed dial. Y'all are fucked.
The Beltway bugger.
Yeah.
All right. After returning home, I went straight to my library and pulled out Witness. It had probably been 20 years since I sat transfixed by Whittaker Chambers' heart-wrenching prose. My hunch was right. In fact, I'm now convinced that it wasn't a hunch, but an inspiration. An inspiration from the same source that moved Chambers to write the following. I cannot say that I then believed in God. I sought God. I sought him with the hopeless sense that by finding him, I might at once lose what I have scarcely found. For through in finding prayer, I had found myself. I did not see how I, or any man like me, could at so late an hour retrace the step of his life and make what I have called in the first line of this book the impossible return. I asked myself if I must not kill myself. And even when I answered no, not from force of reason, but from force of life, I felt that the answer should be yes. Continuing, then Chambers goes on to describe something so personal and powerful that, in my opinion, it changed the world forever, for the better. Then there came a moment so personal, so singular and final, that I have attempted to relate it to only one other human being, a priest, and had thought to reveal it to my children only at the end of my life. In those days, I often moved about or performed tasks more or less blindly from habit, while my mind was occupied with its mortal debate. One day, as I came down the stairs from the Mount Royal Terrace house, the question of the impossible return struck me with sudden sharpness. I thought, you cannot do it. No one can go back. As I stepped down into the dark hall, I found myself stopped, not by a constraint, but by a hush of my whole being. In this organic hush, a voice said with perfect distinctness, if you will fight for freedom, all will be well with you. The words are nothing. Perhaps there were no words, only an uttered meaning to which my mind supplied the words. What was there was the sense that, like me, time in the world stood still, an awareness of God as an envelopment, holding me in silent assurance and untroubled peace. There was a sense that in that moment I have my promise not with the mind, but with my whole being, and that this was a covenant I might not break. This moment of truth for Chambers was the stuff out of which the tides of history are changed. His inspiration is more pertinent today for us, his heirs, than it was when he wrote it over 30 years ago. Hear him again as his resolution hardens. I did not seek to know God's will. I did not suppose that anyone could know God's will, for, as I was to tell a grand jury 10 years later, between man's purpose in time and God's purpose in eternity, there is an infinite difference in quality. The words are Kierkegaard's. The experience that gave them life for me is mine. Nor did I ever regard myself as an instrument of God. I only sought prayerfully to know and to do God's purpose with me. And I did not suppose that those words, all will be well with you, implied my happiness. For I never supposed that what man means by well-being and what well-being means to God could possibly be the same. They might be as different as joy and suffering. I only knew that I had promised God my life, and even if it were his will, to death. This is my ultimate witness. I can tell you from my own personal experience that no amount of money, none of the perks of modern man can ever remotely come close to the exhilaration and peace that comes with the fight for freedom. So to answer the final question, which incidentally was the title Lennon gave to one of his tracks, What Is to Be Done? The answer is simple. Action. Roll tape, right? Not easy, mind you, but simple nonetheless. We must expose the conspiracy with all the tools and resolve we can muster, and then we have to vote the bastards out. This was a really strong lead-in. He did a really good lead-in to this, but now it's going to be just like constitutional fundamentalism. We must expose the conspiracy with all the tools and resolve we can muster. We must resist their every attempt to erode our constitutional and national sovereignty. How do we say that? We must, with the wealth we each have and compared to the rest of the world, that is a lot, to give help to the freedom fighters in far-flung corners of the globe. God damn it, the neocons! Nicaragua, Angola, Afghanistan, wherever the forces of conspiracy are trying to impose the long night of communism. Oh, you heard it here first, folks.
The long night of communism.
Fund the Mujahideen, and all will be well.
I mean, like, honestly, funding the Mujahideen was not the bad move. The bad move was cutting off the funding to the Mujahideen. Well,
it was theoretically fine to fund the Mujahideen. The problem was funding Israel.
Yeah.
And the Mujahideen.
Yeah.
We must not be taken in by the fools who feel that they must go along to get along. Lift up your voice regardless of which party is doing the conspiracy's bidding.
Oh, wait. Randall Shirker says, I'm still the opinion Buckley intentionally elevated impotent people who would never be able to get off the neocon plantation. That is more or less no longer even questioned. That's canon. That's canon now. Like, it's like, yeah, he did that. There's actually there's a new very large biography, voluptuous biography of
a
Buckley
curvaceous biography.
Yeah.
Dripping with
that alleges the same. So that's pretty much confirmed. It's no longer LMD territory. That's
regular history.
Yeah, regular history. We need a soundboard for womp womp,
That's right. Sadly there's it is just how it is. Like, when conspiracy stops being or starts being confirmed, it's just farcical, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just becomes comedy once it is confirmed. So, Randall Shirker asked, what is the name of that biography?
I can't actually, but Helen Andrews reviewed it for, I think, American Mind recently. I'll look it up. Keep going.
All right. We must support with our time and money men of conviction and courage who are willing to take up the burden of running for office. For as Edmund Burke said, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. No, we just need better candidates. That's the problem. We need better candidates. Yes. And finally, we must come immediately to the defense of those who the insiders and their puppets in the media will attempt to destroy. For as always and everywhere in this world gone crazy, we really can judge a man more by his enemies than by his friends. When you see the insider media unleash a smearbund, in all likelihood, the object of their hatred is experiencing the same venom that was directed at Chambers. Whittaker Chambers was only one of the first. The list is potentially endless. Another list of ships I see. Joe McCarthy, Robert Welsh, Jerry Falwell. Be careful, Reverend Falwell, that they don't compromise your effectiveness with respectability.
Jerry Falwell. These people love Jerry Falwell. Oh,
Larry McDonald, Ariel Sharon.
Yeah.
My God. Ariel Sharon.
Don't stop saying it. The lights are flickering.
No kidding. Yeah, if you say Ariel Sharon 3 times, oh no, oh God, he's here.
Yeah.
I'm being burned alive like an Arab child. The list will continue to grow for as long as honest men challenge them. Yet, in spite of the viciousness of the attacks by the other side, even more devastating was the cowardice of those who knew these men were right, but who were afraid to come to their defense. If only fewer people had come to Ariel Sharon's defense, we would have fewer issues in the world. Oh God.
We would probably have another chapter of this book is what we would have.
Oh God. Yes, the chapter on why we did nothing to prevent the fall of Israel. We must not let this happen again. Never again, for as Churchill is reputed to have said, the hottest place in hell must be reserved for those who in the face of great moral crisis maintain their neutrality. I fucking hate Churchill quotes. Okay. What are the critics of the conspiracy up against? Moneyed interests, of course. The captive bureaucracies of the federal government, always. But far more important as a negative factor against the truth is the perceived moral force of the establishment respectability. Chambers saw this over 3 decades ago. Critics of the conspiratorial power seekers are up against the best people. So it's valuing social cohesion over truth. Got it. Which is the problem is that the moral force of the establishment, like him making this case, is actually him making my case, which is that these are primarily socially tied groups, right? Rather than active conspiracies, they are enforced through social bonds more than anything else, and you're just like literally not at the party. That's what he's saying. If there was merely like a subaltern group, they wouldn't necessarily have the moral force. They wouldn't be influenced by that. So anyway, no feature of the Hiss case is more obvious or more troubling as history than the jagged fissure, which did not so much open as reveal, between the plain men and women of the nation and those who affected to act, think, and speak for them. It was not invariably, but in general, the best people who were for Alger Hiss and who were prepared to go to almost any length to protect and defend him. It was the enlightened and powerful, the clamorous proponents of the open mind and the common man who snapped their minds shut in a pro-Hiss psychosis of a kind which, in an individual patient, means the simple failure of the ability to distinguish between reality and unreality, and in a nation is a warning of the end. But the important fact to bear in mind is that the public, the little people who are the backbone of any civilization, were generally aware of the problem. They instinctively knew who was telling the truth, especially after the evidence came out, the famous pumpkin papers, microfilms of documents that incriminated Hiss, which Chambers had hidden in a pumpkin in his garden. It was I didn't know about that, but it's
a crazy story.
Profoundly amazing. That's so wait, so they searched his house and it was like, oop, it was in my pumpkin the whole time.
And they checked the pumpkin, you know?
No, they didn't check the pumpkin. They checked his house. They would have checked his house, but not the pumpkin. They didn't check the pumpkin.
I was watching Mulholland Drive last night, and it blew me away. Because they have have you ever seen it? I feel like maybe you haven't.
I watched Mulholland Drive like 20 years ago.
You should watch that shit again. It's incredible. But though there's a scene where like the two turbo lazies are hiding money, and they hide the money in a hat box. And I'm like, nobody's gonna think to look in the hat box.
Nobody would ever look in a hat. Why would anyone look in a hat box? What's in there? Just hats, right? No one cares. No one cares about what's in the hat box. So let's see. Hidden in a pumpkin in his garden. It was the establishment against the people, and when the people were given the facts, they knew who was guilty. Unlike the best people who still persist in doubting Jaber's story, or worse, who know Hiss was guilty but dare not admit it publicly. If it is the reader's intention to let these newfound insights concerning the problems we face today become merely an interesting read, then let me once again and finally quote from Chambers, wherein he is describing why more ex-communists never joined in the fight. In the name of reason and intelligence, the vision keeps them firmly in its grip, self-divided, paralyzed, powerless to act against it. Yet there is one experience which most sincere ex-communists share, whether or not they go only partway to the end of the questions it poses. The daughter of a former German diplomat in Moscow was trying to explain to me why her father, who, as an enlightened modern man, had been extremely pro-communist, had become an implacable anti-communist. It was hard for her because, as an enlightened modern girl, she shared the communist vision without being a communist. But she loved her father, and the irrationality of his defection embarrassed her. He was immensely pro-Soviet, she said, and then, you will laugh at me, but you must not laugh at my father. And then one night in Moscow, he heard screams. That's all. Simply one night he heard screams. A child of reason in the 20th century, she knew that there is a logic of the mind. She did not know that the soul has a logic that may be more compelling than the mind's. She did not know at all that she had swept away the logic of the mind, the logic of history, the logic of politics, the myth of the 20th century, with 5 annihilating words. One night he heard screams. What communist has not heard those screams? They come from husbands torn forever from their wives in midnight arrests. They come muffled from the execution cellars of the secret police, from the torture chambers of the Lukyanka, from all of the citadels of terror now stretching from Berlin to Canton. They come from those freight cars loaded with men, women, and children, the enemies of the communist state, locked in, packed in, left on remote sidings to freeze to death at night in the Russian winter. They come from minds driven mad by the horrors of mass starvation, ordered and enforced as a policy of the communist state. The Holodomor happened, by the way. They come from the starved skeletons, worked to death or flogged to death, as an example to others, in the freezing filth of subarctic labor camps. They come from children whose parents are suddenly, inexplicably taken away from them, parents they will never see again. If you, gentle reader, close your eyes and open up your heart, you too will hear the screams. If you live in a modern American city, you'll hear the screams of anarcho-tyranny as laws are not enforced against people of certain skin colors, provided the crime is committed by people of a different one. Oh, wait. Sorry. They come from every corner of the globe, and amidst the agony and terror comes the cry, help us, please help us. You are our only hope. I promise that if you do, all will be well with you. Yeah. Well, I've heard screams. I live in a modern American city, and I've heard screams. And they weren't from police taking people away. They were from people being victimized by people the police should have taken away. And so if you promise me that certain people will get disappeared, well, if I can pick who they are, I'm probably not going to be afraid of that. So, I don't know. You fucking lost me, Larry. Because I heard the screams.
I hear the screams right now. The screams are everywhere. The screams are in my mind.
The screams are in my mind. I hear the screams through the screens whenever someone shouts world star. So this is the epilogue. As you may note, epilogue starts on page 241. This book ends on page 290. So there's a 50-page epilogue. The last 20% of this book
is epilogue. I'm sure it's juicy.
Well, it is Gary North. It is Gary North. Not Gary Allen, not Larry Abraham, but old Gary North, who of all the people who have written and contributed to this chimera of a conspiratorial book, Gary North is probably the best.
George Hayduk says, "A scream of help me, he's got a gun" should be the motto of Oakland, California. The last time I was in Oakland, by the way, I was riding the BART to San Francisco, and a black man playing rap music from his speaker attempted to get me to help mug an Asian medical student. And
CFR, I'm not worried about that acronym. I'm worried about JBL.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, and Shirker, the biography, yeah, that's the one. Buckley by Sam Tannenhouse.
There we go. All right. Epilogue, Gary North. We're reading it. You have read the book. Presumably, you've formed an opinion about the validity of Abraham's thesis. Oh, have I formed an opinion about Abraham's thesis?
Yeah.
If you think he is overwhelmingly incorrect, then this epilogue will not do you much good. Gary North is not here to do the sell, right? If you think he is essentially correct, then you need to consider a few more issues. They are not easy ones to deal with, but they are crucial. Who is to blame? If a group or allied groups of ideologically linked, educationally linked, financially linked, and even maritally linked rulers do, in fact, control the basic policy making of the United States government, along with big banking, big labor, big business, and big everything else, except for small hat, do they do so in defiance of what most Americans would want them to do if they knew who was controlling decision making and how they were doing it? If you answer, yes, most Americans would throw out the conspirators if only they knew about them. No, they fucking wouldn't. You are saying that you would throw them out because you know about them and you think other Americans would agree with you. I'm not so sure. I think the whole gang of 2,300 should be tossed out into the cold, cruel world of economic competition. If I were president of the United States, no Council on Foreign Relations member or trilateral member could serve in any position subject to my appointment. But that isn't the point. I'm not sure the American voter cares one way or the other. I doubt that I could gain many votes for president in terms of such a campaign promise, other than from those who have read the earlier edition of this book, even if the power elite stood on the sidelines and refused to get involved in the election. It is my job to get involved in an educational campaign. I want to get the leaders of the future to see the issues, the constitutional issues, and abide by the Constitution or change it openly according to the rules. Boy, that is retarded. That's I don't know. What do you think? How do you feel about that? Do you feel like the best thing that you could possibly do with your time is to get people to play by the rules?
You know, really all this does is send me crashing back through my memories of my time. Like it's like you know that scene in SpongeBob where
I've never watched SpongeBob. I am in my 40s.
Anyway, there's a
but
famous
the audience knows.
Yeah, there's a famous scene in SpongeBob where Patrick Star is trying to convince this villain character is trying to convince Patrick Star of something, and he always seems to almost get it, and then when it comes time to put it all together, it falls back apart and he crashes back to his original position.
I do know the
yeah.
meme. Yes.
That's what talking to these people about this was like. It's like, yeah, then we just got to get them to vote for Trump. And I'm like, oh my God, that's step one, guys. That's step one.
Yeah. If you show up at the race, you have won the race. That is the you walk into the stadium, and therefore you have achieved the gold medal. That is the argument here. Also the idea that like, it's my job to get involved in an educational campaign. No, we just need to. No, the problem is education, guys. Really, bro, the problem is education. Like, trust me, bro. This time the problem is education. It's not in any sense a population issue. We're not locked. We're not locked in any kind of like deeper conflict. We just have to convince people. So, okay. God damn it. This is me. Honestly, the second half of this book has been me falling for the gambler's folly. Right? This is just me refusing to admit that we should stop reading this book.
Well, yeah, exactly. This is, and also because even Wendy kind of fell apart at the end when you get into the epilogue.
No way. The epilogue where she has an epiphany and walks outside for a smoke. That was great. That was great. That was a great ending. And I like Wendy, if you're listening, you're the most Lynchian historian I have ever run across, and you're wonderful. But like again, like at the end, because you could tell the epilogue whenever she's like talking about the wrapping up the lone wolf bit, you could tell it was like still part of her like thesis or something like that, and it had the academic stank on it until she went outside and smoked a cigarette. Until she went outside and absolutely ripped a heater. Oswald Art says proof that Sandbatch isn't white. Nigga, I am going to be in striking distance soon, and you told me this. Like if you're anywhere near the green line, I'm gonna eat you. I'm gonna eat you. Oh, Lindsey Graham is gonna get that pussy. That's what's gonna happen. Yeah, but so you didn't help. You didn't help Subway Man. You didn't help. No, I was gonna. I was so insulted that I started freestyle. Literally, I started freestyle rapping because he's trying to. And then everyone clapped. Yeah, I'm like, nigga, I'm from New Orleans. This is minor league bullshit. You're gonna recruit me to some sort of like petty street crime. We're not shaking down a fucking cowering Asian medical student. We're gonna go find somebody with real money on them. Like if you're gonna shake down somebody. So you were offended by the size of the score he was proposing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like nigga, you don't get Jesse James to rob a payphone, man. You know, like I'm a top shelf fucking thief. Yeah, if we're gonna do petty crime on public transit, we're getting paid. I don't do theft. I do robbery. Yes, different. It involves violence. And I started and to scare him off, I started freestyle rapping, and it worked. He was gone. You were like a hip hop, a hippie to the hip hop. Yes. Well, I'm from New Orleans. I came to say I won't rob that Asian. No, I was doing back that ass up, and I know I will not do it right now. You were doing 1994 after school special rap. You were like, if only I could. You were like, if only I could reach these kids. I know hip hop. So yes, you totally changed that young man's life. White man got some bars. We're having fun here on LMD. We having fun. Oh my god! Be sure to sneak those super chats. Be sure to sneak those. I gotta buy a car. Yeah. Sandbatch does need to buy a car. You can also contribute to a Give Send Go for that was set up by Swampist for for.
Did you see his? I
Sandbatch's
was like, first of all, it's
benefit.
the Give Send Go. He was telling me, he's like, you got to promote that shit. I'm like, you can't promote your own Give Send Go. That's fucking tacky, you know.
It
but
is a little tacky.
like the first way he made it was the most like, it's like he's sometimes Swampus. You have to reel him back in because he's like, he was on the John D space the other night, and he brought a swifter end to the John D space than anyone ever had because he was wasted. And he veers onto the subject of DC girls having great feet, and John D just took the button, just killed the whole space.
Just like, all right, we're done. Yeah.
Yes. But the initial version of it he made said Sandbatch needs to go to racist literature festivals, give him money. And I was like, nigga, I'm not promoting
Please
that.
No. Yeah. Sandbatch saw a black child and swerved to try to hit them, but sadly was intercepted by another vehicle, and now he needs to buy a new car. Please. Yeah. He saw a Somalian anchor baby and tried to run him down. That's not what happened, right? Someone just to be clear, a regular automobile accident.
No, and actually, it was like, because in that part of the country, like just there's just blacks standing on the side of the road in small groups. It's just their pastime. It's actually a group of blacks that attempted to help me, but their attempt to help me, because my car was flipped over. I don't know if I told. See, like, my memory's still bad enough that I don't even know if I told this story last week. My car was I don't remember
the accident was a year ago.
Right? Yeah, it was just a year ago, man. But I remember the actual. I don't remember the immediate. I don't really remember what happened immediately in the preceding moments, but I remember the accident itself remarkably well. And it was just like sort of floating through time. And there's like these machinic noises all around you. I was like, oh, there are very violent things happening around me. And you're like, I'm also thinking, I'm going to die. I'm going to die right here. Boom. You get hit in the head by something flying around in your car. Boom. That one hurt. It's like, oh, we're rolling again.
Why didn't I secure my brick collection?
Yeah, yes, yeah. And we're rolling again. But anyway, it stops and I come to and I'm upside down. Like the Give Send Go, you could go like the picture looks much better than it actually is, because this group of blacks rushes over to me and acts like when everything stopped, when everything becomes still again, I realized that I'm still here, and also that I'm hanging upside down inexplicably, because I'm really bad about not wearing my seatbelt. Inexplicably, I was
real bad about hanging upside down.
Yeah, I was. Had I not been wearing my seatbelt, I'd be dead 5 times.
Yeah, definitely.
But I was hanging upside down, and I like unhooked myself. And at this very moment, like the group of local blacks that come out, and like at this point, I'm standing up in my car trying to wave them off, because like I'm just gonna try to get out of the car. I'm gonna get out of the car with it upside down. And they thought I was some type of poltergeist inside the vehicle, and they were horrified. And their response to being horrified was to gang up and push the car back over. So after all of this, they push the car back front, like top side up. And so I tumble and fall back again. God damn it. I shouldn't laugh about this. It's not funny. But
it's pretty funny. I mean,
what else are you gonna do? Like some people tell me all the time, they're like, you're the most charming motherfucker ever. And it's like, I'm repressing what actually happened, first of all, and second of all, I'm deeply embarrassed that this happened to me, and so I'm trying to make light of it. But I'm also generally horrified. Dude, okay, Xeria says, how is Sandbatch's luck this fucking bad, man? For the last year,
he's literally haunted by Loa.
For literally the last year, like almost a year ago tonight, I was dating the schizophrenic woman inexplicably, who lives 30 miles from where this accident happened. I was considering people to call, and I almost thought to call her, but I didn't. And I was, but
wow.
Anyway,
through the concussion, the wisdom prevailed.
Yeah, and no, maybe I feel much clearer in terms of thought since this happened. Like, I'm like, what the fuck would you call Ellie for? But she told me she was a demon. Actually, Ellie was a demon. Okay. She worshipped she worshipped Saturn. She worshipped Saturn and
that doesn't
believed.
make her a demon. Humans,
but she thought she was the manifestation of an entity that is in fact a demon.
Yeah, I mean, sure, she's just a, she's just like a roach motel for demons.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair.
You could just get run through by demons. Like, it doesn't make you a demon.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. That's true. Fair. I'm not sure how much of a distinction that is, but fair. And she told me, she was like, on her way out the door, she told me that my life for the next year is going to be very difficult. And I was like, huh? And then, whew, damn, son, she was right. This is like last year's, but this has been the most difficult year of my life.
I'm Sandbatch. They all hard.
They all hard, motherfucker. We out here in the third ward. We out here in the third ward.
We out hurt. That's right.
This has nothing to do with Gary North and Gary Allen.
I know, but it's it's a fun little aside. Right. The problem with the demons is education. They ain't had no father in their lives.
What is that? Boondocks? Is that? Oh my God! It's got to be. What is that show?
It's not. Well, that's not from anything. What I just said.
That was pretty good. Then you're pretty close.
Oh, yeah. That's good. That's good. I love the Boondocks. Actually, it's pretty great.
You're a booty warrior.
Read, nigga. No, I got the reverse vitiligo. Beautiful white babies. All right. I think that voters, or at least those who care enough to take leadership positions locally, can eventually be persuaded to return to constitutional principles. I think it will take something like a spiritual revival to accomplish this, however, which I happen to believe is coming. I know that it is my responsibility to try to win them. Wow, Gary North, not prescient, not even a little prescient. This is fucking rough.
That's my experience of Gary North.
Yeah, I know that it is my responsibility to try to win them back. This is the key word. Back from apathy, back from compromise, and back from false interpretations of the Constitution that have led to the centralization of power. Back to life, back to reality, as was a hit song the year this book was released. Yeah, wow, rough. Yeah, unfortunately, they don't understand, and they will burn your fine wooden door for firewood. They are cold and hungry and do not care. So you're not winning them back. What I am saying is this. The vast majority of American and Western voters began changing their economic opinions a century ago. That would be 1884, decades before there was a CFR. A fundamental moral shift took place simultaneously with the rise of the conspiratorial or pro-conspiratorial groups. The more thoughtful elitists no doubt did what they could to accelerate this shift, but they could not have created it, not in a bottom-up decentralized society, which the United States still was. The shift came because of widespread changes in theology, philosophy, and morality in the late 19th century. When was the Scoville Bible written? Jamie, can you look up Scoville Study Bible?
I think it's the 1870s.
Yeah. Well, he was pretty close there, Gary.
Yeah.
The shift came because of widespread changes, philosophy and morality in the late 19th century, especially in urban churches and in the better universities. I believe that the most important factor in that shift was the rise of theological liberalism, what later came to be called the social gospel, and the spread of Darwinism and other forms of evolutionistic thinking. Others may have different explanations. This moral shift led to the rise of the early 20th century American movement, which historians call progressivism. The point is, it was part of a major shift in the climate of moral opinion, and no conspiratorial group created it. They did, however, use it and profit from it. They still do. Wait, so he said he thought that this happened, but he mentioned that the Bavarian Illuminati was part of it.
Yeah, their historiography is all wrong. Like
Yeah,
he's doing, he's
like
getting,
the
he's getting his,
Bavarian
he's getting
Illuminati
his,
happened way before this.
he's getting his peanut butter and his chocolate. What he's actually referring to is the Fabian Society, and the older conspiracy that plugs into is one called the Council of 300, which I think I've mentioned before.
Yeah. Take the case of the 16th Amendment, the federal income tax. God damn it. Every time we're just gonna go back. We're gonna go back to the income tax because that's the sexiest thing you can talk about. Tax policy.
Just you people, like God, you people with your Wilson hate. The last thing I do after y'all Gibson go me a whole new car.
Go in the car.
It's over for you Wilson haters.
So he can go to the polls and change everything. As an aside, Red Beckman and former Illinois revenue agent Bill Benson have discovered that it was never ratified properly in 1913. What are you going to do? Oh, the 16th Amendment was never properly ratified. Oh, does the flag in the courtroom have gold tassels around does it have a tessellated border? Are there tassels? Is it maritime law? Does that mean that they won't send you to pound me in the ass prison? Oh, it doesn't mean they won't send you to pound me in the ass prison? Well, then I guess it's the law. I guess it's the fucking law then, because it gets enforced.
What the George Hayduke urban in this case means Jews. That's actually that's what they're talking about.
With a hard J.
Hard J.
Technically it is an illegal amendment. Is this really significant except as a curiosity of history? The 14th Amendment wasn't ratified legally either, since certain states were not allowed to vote. The point is, the public in 1913 was willing to ratify it, even though certain technicalities were missing. There was no hue and cry of outrage when the amendment was announced as having passed. Why not? Therein lies a tale. How was that amendment sold to American voters? By an exceedingly evil appeal. Soak the rich. It was an appeal based on envy, pure and simple. And like all forms of evil, it backfired. It led to the capture of the middle-class voters by the rich, who were supposedly the targets of the law. Rockefeller, Harriman, Morgan, Carnegie, and all the others knew how to appeal to the voters. It was a classic Brer Rabbit ploy. Ooh, Song of the South.
Incredible movie, by the way.
Don't toss us into that briar patch. Anything but that.
Zippity-yay. My, oh my, what a wonderful day.
Also, the same headed my way, zippity doo dah. Yeah,
the same group of people that I used to work with that were part of producing this book. Like they had boxes and boxes of VHSs of Song of the South that they would pass out to anybody who wanted it.
Amazing. It's unfortunately. So I went on Splash Mountain, which is a Song of the South ride. I went on Splash Mountain the year before they redid it as Princess and the Frog. Of fucking Disney.
I refuse it. Actually, Song of the South is a great movie, and it's not.
No, it's actually good. It's not racist. It's
not even a. It's literally actually one of their best movies.
Yeah, black people do not come away from that looking bad at all.
It's probably one of the. It's probably one of the most sympathetic depictions of black people in all of media. You know.
Yeah.
Way more so than Juicy J. You know, like fuck.
Right. I mean, if every black man was an Uncle, just merely a younger Uncle Remus, any racism that lives in my heart would not only not be present, but would be unjustified. But unfortunately, that's not what we're working with. So, let's see. And poor dumb middle class voters acted just like Brer Bear. They toss them into the briar patch of tax-exempt foundations, tax loopholes, family trusts, and all the rest. The elite had the lawyers and accountants. The middle class didn't. So whose fault was it that the voters were willing to grant to the federal government the government's primary instrument of oppression in the United States? The Internal Revenue Service. Wow. Who was seducing whom?
The American Library Association.
The American Library, yeah. As I see it, there was larceny in everyone's heart in 1913. The difference between the conspirators and the victims was the difference between the professional con artist and the petty thief. I keep thinking of that. This is exactly like the bus mugging story you just told.
This is also not true. The income tax was actually if the majority of people who bitch about Woodrow Wilson go back and read the actual text of the justification for creating an income tax, what they're going to find is that it's actually a way. It was devised as a way to relieve the tax burden on the middle class, who were getting all ed up with tariffs and excise taxes. So this was a way to. It was Georgism was influential, but it was initially almost
fucking hate Georgism.
It was intended as a kind of like ad hoc flat tax measure, and then it got
Georgism would be an absolutely fucking insane thing to apply in the United States. It would actually cause a insane population bomb, because the whole point of Georgism, for those who don't know, Georgism is that only the land is taxed. The taxes are only on the land, and they're not on the improvements on the land either. They're just on the land. So every bit of land essentially has the same tax levied on it. And that is the only source of tax, and that is the only source of tax income. And
Henry George, by the way, it's the Progress and Poverty is the name of the book. I think it's the second best-selling book in English of the 19th century after the Bible.
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, anyone who would ever like to own a home.
Exactly. Like severely discourages home ownership.
Yeah, Georgism is like a recipe for everyone lives in an arcology. Like,
though there are some places in America because it was exceptionally popular in New England. And some serious Georgist experiments occurred in New England with the result of native population collapse.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so it results in hyperdensity. Like, I don't know. Yeah, absolute nightmare scenario type of policy. Let's see. I don't know. It might work in a place that's already like extremely densely populated. Like, you might be able to do Georgism in, like, I don't know, downtown San Francisco or something. Like, that might work. Something that's bounded where you're on a peninsula.
They're always Boston is the.
You could do it on like Manhattan, maybe.
Yeah, Well, I mean, Manhattan kind of has done it.
Well, no, they have all sorts of layers of bullshit. Like, it would be incredibly elegant to just have insanely high property taxes, but
the Georgist layer, there was a Georgist period in New York City in the 1920s, and it's just one of the layers of bullshit now.
Right. Yep. Yeah, everyone just always wants to like fiddle, right? The temptation to fiddle. Yeah. Let's see here. Where the fuck are we?
Are we still reading this book?
We're still reading this book. George C. Scott. Oh yeah, okay. I keep thinking of the movie The Sting. Now he's just talking about films he's seen recently. Although I guess The Sting probably came out in the early 70s or something like that. It's a great one. Paul Newman, Robert Redford. If the intended victim of a sting operation has not been a thief in his heart and willing to cheat the professional con, the operation could not have worked. That's how all of the good guy grifting worked in that movie, where someone had to try to steal something in order to get taken. Let's see. Or as the character Mordecai Jones, George C. Scott says in The Flim Flam Man, you can't cheat an honest man. What he was really saying was that virtually everyone he encountered was dishonest. The whole world was his potential victim. My contention is that my proposed educational campaign must be a lot more than just intellectual. It will involve a lot more than persuading the average voter of the existence of a conspiracy, which is misusing political power to the detriment of most voters. What is needed is a moral campaign. Good moral hygiene. Facts without a principle of interpretation are useless. Exposing a conspiracy without offering an alternative is wasted time. You can't beat something with nothing. We need to appeal to the Constitution and to free market principles, for they are both moral institutions. They are outward. Wow, talk about a cause that is truly lost, right? Like, do you think that the Constitution and free markets being moral institutions is something that has virtually any currency in public life right now?
There is a fellow at the Ludwig von Mises Institute that trolls the fuck out of my timeline, and like he's always like, do you have any good takes at all? And like I just retweeted a picture of Tucker Carlson and said, here's one. I got like 50 likes and he got 0. So that's like that's where we're at.
A modest ratio, but
yeah.
Wow. I mean, yeah. Let's see. There let's see. They are outworkings of explicitly biblical laws. I realize that some conservatives and most free market economists have not argued this way in the past, especially academic types. Professional academics, especially the economists, want to leave morality out of the discussion. They want value-free solutions. This value-free appeal has failed again and again. Society has conducted a continuing empirical test of this intellectual appeal and has registered a verdict: failure. True enough. That's true. That's all very true. Besides, does anyone really believe that there is moral neutrality in economics, psychology, political science, or anything else? Naive, value-free faith has been under attack for 2 centuries, and fewer scholars have taken it seriously since 1965. Weird appeal to authority there, but
even the scholars think this scholarship is bullshit, you know.
Yeah. We have investigated ourselves and found ourselves guilty.
The conspiracy, the massive academic conspiracy we've spent the last 290 pages telling you about say that this is bullshit. So it's bullshit.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is he's like, oh yeah, there's no neutrality, but his entire thing is like all of these institutions are good, and all of the institutions are still fine. The institutions are neutral. It's just these CFR guys who are running every aspect of them. That's the problem.
The institutions are fine. It's the people that founded them that are wrong.
Founded them and have operated them the entire time.
Yeah, founded them and operated them the entire time and presided over the most massive period of growth by one single nation state in the history of the world. It's like a
The other side appeals to our basest instincts in order to manipulate us. The proper response is to appeal to men's highest instincts and to show them that the U.S. Constitution and the free market economy are grounded in moral values that are among the highest that any civilization has ever adopted. We must take the moral high ground. Nothing else stands a chance of overturning the present power-drunk political system. We must appeal to ethics in order to overcome our opponent's raw power. Wow. That is so wrong. So wrong.
Raw power.
Raw power. You made them sound so good. You made them sound cool, idiot. We must also understand that they too have a moral vision, a theology. Without it, they could never have been successful over the long haul. True, this is all true. Ideas have consequences.
Theology.
A big thick fucking theology covered in veins.
Yeah.
Ideas have consequences for good or evil. We must understand our opponent's theology and then do whatever we can to cleanse our own thinking of our opponent's first principles. If we adopt their first principles, then any future competition between us and them is just another gangland struggle. I almost said gangbang. Given the extent of their existing power, they will beat us every time. They'll beat us off left and right.
Damn. Randall Sugar says, "Here we go." Sandbatch's Wilson apology. You have to understand, it is actually incredibly close to the mother vein of my entire worldview. Like, it's like sometimes I do things. Yeah. Sometimes I do things just to be a little pissy. But the Wilson apologetics is actually, I'm 100% not kidding about that. Yeah, that's a real thing. So like, sometimes I'm bullshitting you. I'm not bullshitting you about the Give Send Go that you all should go give money to, and I'm not bullshitting you about Wilson apologetics. You can take me to the bank on that. I really believe it.
It is true that you shouldn't adopt your opponent's first principles, but unfortunately, this has adopted
not a Southerner by any real definition. What? He was born in Stanton, Virginia, and grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. His father was one of the Presbyterian fire-eating ministers that inaugurated secession in the Civil War, and he spent his entire academic career writing like literal panegyrics on the memory of Robert E. Lee. Like, if Woodrow Wilson is not a Southerner, if Woodrow Wilson is not a Southerner, I'm not a Southerner. Like, it's like, I don't understand. I mean,
Sandbatch lost his Southern card tonight.
Yeah. Arborgrass tried to take it from me the other day. He's like, I'm taking your Louisiana card because I was doing Wilson revisionism. He was like, you're not a real Southerner if you're like Woodrow Wilson. I'm pulling up, like, he won the 1912 election. He won the Louisiana election in 1912 with 75% of the vote. Then he won it in 1916 with 85% of the vote.
He won the 1899 most racist man alive award.
I mean, he literally
got the blue ribbon.
Yes. Third generation American.
Go ahead.
I'm an 11th generation American is what I am.
I am. You don't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as Woodrow Wilson, that's for sure, which is apparently 3. So, but here I am. Let's see. The conspiracies theology.
I was doxxed by the Southern Poverty Law Center for being a literal Southern extremist.
That's so true. That's so true. Honestly, if that doesn't get it, nothing does, right?
What do I got to do? I got to light myself on fire.
What do I got to do? Sorry, Oron Bushmills, you burned yourself alive. Man. Okay, where are we here? The conspiracies theology. This is where we get into more mold, buggy, and cribbing, right? Where we just take more of the cathedral. Let's see. It's all Protestantism, right? Come on. All right. The heart of the conspiracy's successful appeal, both to its membership and its eventual victims. Not the goodies that it promises, comes the revolution. There are lots of ways of getting goodies in life. The real appeal is in the appeal of a uniquely revolutionary idea. It's the same idea that the serpent presented to Eve. Ye shall be as gods. Men live by ideas, and no idea in man's history produced more evil than this one. Man, the god. Man, the predestinator. Man, the central planner. Man, the director of the evolutionary process. Man, the maker... What, this guy doesn't believe in dog breeding? Man, the maker and shaker of things on earth and in the heavens. As Marx's partner, Frederick Engels, put it over a century ago, get a job, Carl. I'm sick of paying your rent. Man no longer merely proposes, but also disposes. But most important of all is the promise: man, the savior of man. This vision is inescapably religious. The impulse lying behind it is religious. Some have called it the religion of secular humanism. Others have called it the will to power. Those are both very different, both unbelievably different things that do not overlap very neatly at all. But no one has described its implications better than C.S. Lewis. What we call man's power is, in reality, a power possessed by some men, which they may or may not allow other men to profit by. From this point of view, what we call man's power over nature turns out to be a power exercised by some men over other men, nature as its instrument. Man's conquest of nature, if the dreams of some scientific planners are realized, means the rule of a few hundred men over billions upon billions of men. Each new power won by man is a power over man as well. Each advance leaves him weaker as well as stronger. In every victory, besides being the general who triumphs, he is also the prisoner who follows the triumphal car. For the power of man is to make himself what he pleases means, as we have seen, the power of some men to make other men what they please. Well, C.S. Lewis said it better.
You know, I'm not a C.S. Lewis guy.
Really? Do you hate the English?
No, the schizophrenic woman again. Actually, around this time last year when she cursed me, she read a C.S. Lewis book and like used it to.
The screw tape letters weren't supposed to be a manual.
Yeah. No, it was that one where there's like it's like Dante's Inferno and T.S. Eliot all smashed together, and this woman is like she dies and goes to heaven, but her husband's not there, and she gets to go see him in hell. And like she was explaining to me that I'm actually metaphysically evil, and she was trying to be, because this is actually kind of whenever she jumped the shark on me, because like she started trying to manipulate me using English literature. This is about the one thing that's not. That's like you stepped into an arena that you were not prepared for, and she's like trying to DDD me with these like entirely oppositional readings of C.S. Lewis. I've never been a C.S. Lewis guy because I think he fundamentally misreads T.S. Eliot, and it doesn't reflect. The space trilogy is good though, like Out of the Silent Planet, and that stuff is all good. Yeah. And that Hideous Stream, that is excellent. But I'm not the biggest fan of C.S. Lewis as a commenter.
Fair enough. Okay, so basically, she was trying to make you susceptible to possession by DDDing you.
Yeah, she was the Great Divorce. That's it, Oswald Art. I said I haven't read much. I haven't read much C.S. Lewis. Yeah, so like it's not necessarily wrong, but I have read The Great Divorce. I did read that one, and I was like, holy shit, this bitch is evil.
This bitch evil.
She be eviling out here. She be eviling out over here. But yeah, no, and then that conversation actually produced the one where she cursed me. That was we're just exploring.
Funny how that happens.
We're exploring the worst levels of my id tonight.
This is look, man. This is what is the point of Library of Mass Destruction if it's not public therapy session for Sandbatch? Oh man. All right.
This one was not an e-girl. She was not. Well, she kind of was, but she was a teapot e-girl.
Randall Shirker, Sandbatch, can we just accept that you need to stay away from e-girls already? You seem to just end up in bad places when you engage with them. Yeah. Sadly, that is all of the women, because you have catastrophic tastes. So,
there's a lot going on there, but.
Someday you will find some like very slightly on the spectrum academic girl who can
it's what I've been looking for.
Handle
it's
you.
What I've been looking for.
Yeah.
There's like, but it just turns out, well, I don't know. The one that came after the schizo girl, actually, she really wasn't all that bad, but I was fucked up from schizo girl, and I made her more schizo than she really was. I think that's the deep admission. Yeah.
Very tragic. Let's see here.
Oswald Art says Gibson go to send Sandbatch to conversion therapy. So, like, what is the goal here? To make me gay?
It works both ways, Sandbatch. It works both ways. But there is something missing in Lewis's analysis. Must all progress necessarily lead to elitist power over others?
Yes.
If so, we have a problem. If we proclaim the moral legitimacy of progress and therefore the legitimacy of increasing man's power over his environment, power such as we possess with modern medicine, how are we to restrain the rise of power-drunk elites? I don't know. We did a fucking bad job with medicine, though. Must we, too, become tyrants just because we believe in historical progress? Progress, after all, is not the product of cultural impotence. It involves the use of power. To avoid becoming tyrants, we must give up the idea of progress, as many in this century have done, and call for a retreat into mysticism? Yes.
That's exactly what we're going to do.
To abandon the struggle against moral and social evil in order to sit peacefully and contemplate our navels or wait for the rapture? Are we culturally beaten before we... What a weird heresy. Are we culturally beaten before we start? In short, can we keep our own vision of victory? And every successful group in history always has possessed such a vision, from becoming just another stepping stone in the advance of political tyranny. The answer is yes, we can. Oh, who is that slogan used by?
The Black Reagan, the man who described himself as the Black Reagan.
The Blagan Reagan. But to achieve progress without tyranny, we must elevate ethics over power. God. It's just like everything will be fine if we get a philosopher king. It's like, yeah, well, I guess it probably fucking would be. Unfortunately.
This will make great blog material in the year 2007.
Yep. This is what is missing from Lewis's summary, or at least missing from my summary of Lewis. We must recognize that in a cosmically personal universe, there are perpetually binding moral rules. These rules are ethical. They should remind us that all autonomous, i.e. self-made, power corrupts. An absolute autonomous power in the hands of sinful creatures, meaning all of us, corrupts absolutely. This does not mean that all power is evil. It is always necessary for righteous men to possess power if they are to reconstruct a civilization that has been run by evil men who possess raw power. The issue is ethics, not power as such. It depends on which ethical system a society adopts. I actually think the entire concept of ethics used in this sort of loose way is a moral hazard. Divorcing ethics from morality is.
Do you know who divorces
weird.
ethics? Do you know who divorces ethics from morality?
Humanists?
No, well, women in the academy is who does it.
Yeah,
it's like literally every woman who's in philosophy in the academy seems like they're in fucking ethics, and they all do explicitly do that sort of moral ethic divide. And this is reason kids don't read philosophy. There's novels. You can read Gabe. You can send us super chats. You can hop in the Discord and talk to Gabe. You do anything but read philosophy.
Don't read philosophy. Talk to Gabe about philosophy. Gabe also doesn't read philosophy.
And now you have a novel.
There you go. This does not mean let's see. The issue is ethics, no power, not power as such. It depends on which ethical system a society adopts. Some ethical systems are evil. Marxism is a case in point. Fair enough. That's true enough. The question is, which ethical system? One which elevates man and man's goals, or one which elevates God and therefore limits man's power? In short, the religion of God or the religion of humanism. I do think that there is plausibly, like, to go back and maybe challenge you a little bit here, Sandbatch. I think there is within given magisteria a difference between ethics and morality, where the system could be moral, but ethics sort of is still more subject to custom. So if you were to say something like business ethics is one thing, right? And in order to be a truly ethical system, it does have to like comport with overall morality. But a person can violate, business ethics without necessarily doing something that is like sinful. So,
I think that's true now in contemporary conceptions of business ethics, but in like the original Wilsonian progressive academic synthesis, that would have been considered a priority already unethical, because if it doesn't comport with the sort of the ethics of the biblical system itself, then it's not actually really progressive. But that's like we're getting like there's been all kinds of German impositions and dialectical flux.
Yeah, but like the biblical system doesn't have anything about like contract priority or intellectual property, or who owns a deal or something like that. It doesn't have anything to do. It doesn't have any of that. No, it fucking doesn't. Okay, the Mosaic contract law is fucking retarded.
Okay, well, but now you've admitted that it's there. You just said it was retarded.
There is some contract law in the Bible, obviously.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you wouldn't get the like later Judaic legalism. But like Mosaic contract law is stupid because I don't know. Maybe I'm the one who's wrong. Okay, maybe I'm the one who's wrong. Maybe I should figure out whether the person I am going into a contract with is a Gentile or not before I decide to abide by the rules.
That is, in fact,
in the Bible. Yes, I know.
That is the real answer. But
yeah, I don't know.
We can't say that though.
Except that, but also Mosaic law is part of the Old Covenant, which doesn't fucking exist anymore. And so
that's true. The way Protestants did this is they went back and they said, well, it's not necessarily a binding covenant, but this is the only antecedent. We like this antecedent more than we like civil antecedent, and that's really kind of the origin of Anglo sort of contract law. But
common law is not Mosaic law.
No, it's not.
And English common law is not Mosaic law, and is in fact more ethical and
that's
more moral.
Yeah.
But anyway, limited power. Western civilization adopted biblical ethics as its moral foundation.
He's doing a Judeo-Christianity is what he's doing though.
He's going to do it. We also it's very funny because he's probably just going to be wrong about something right next here. But also you can see the difference between ethics and morality, and the difference between ethics generally in like the response of like to immigration law, where like the government lifting temporary refugee status, which is something that was added, without any process, and can also likewise be removed without any further process. There are people who are saying that it is unethical to remove this, what is effectively a license to be somewhere at sufferance, despite the fact that it was granted in such a way, right? It's like if you have it's like if you go to a hotel and you pay for a night, you have a 1-night leasehold. You have a license to use the space according to certain rules, like for a night. And if you leave the next day, they don't charge you for an additional night.
Right.
And if you stay, you will owe them for an additional night. And if they tell you you can't stay another night, you have to leave, or you are trespassing. It is like, but like people don't actually care about the system. They care about getting their own outcomes, right? So that's
grubby little fingers.
Yeah, grubby little fingers. Yeah. Anyway, Western civilization adopted biblical ethics as its moral foundation. The Bible teaches the sovereignty of God, not the sovereignty of man. What this means is that all creaturely power is inescapably limited. Man is a creature. He cannot possess ultimate power, and it is a sign of men's evil intentions if they pursue power as such, power divorced from ethics. All political power should therefore be limited by statute law and also by tradition, because man is a sinful creature. It means, in short, that man is not God. Power is delegated to specific men by God through other men, and all legitimate delegated power is therefore limited power. Okay, license, sure. The Old Testament required that the people of Israel be assembled once every 7 years to hear the reading of God's law. Everyone was required to come. Residents, children, women, priests, the rulers. No one was exempt. All were presumed to be able to understand the law. Everyone would know. Can you imagine how long it would take to read the law at present?
Yeah, it's
it would take all 7 years.
It's so bad. It's so bad that they don't even check their own Chat GPT hallucinated citations. That's how bad it is. Like,
yeah. Oh, you're talking about the judge who issued.
It happens a lot.
Oh my lord, that's horrifying.
It also just goes to show you most lawyers are retarded.
So true.
Dan Baltic taking a beating this show. Sorry,
taking a beating. Sorry, Dano. Let's see. No one was exempt. All were presumed to be able to understand the law. Everyone would know when the provisions of God's law were being violated. Thus, men had reasonable expectations about law enforcement. They could predict both the state and each other's actions far better, for all of them knew the public revealed law. Absolute authority ruled from the top, God. Limited authority was delegated from God to rulers, but only by means of revealed and fixed law. The rulers could not legitimately change the law, and bottom-up system of monitoring the rulers was established by the public reading of the law. The U.S. Constitution, as a written document which binds the state itself, was a product of this biblical approach to law. So this is the common law jury system. A dozen of our peers are presumed to be better than robed judges at deciding both the facts and the law of the case. In any given judicial dispute, the decision of the jury is final. There is no double jeopardy. Once declared innocent, the person cannot be retried for the same crime. I really wish that was technically true. Like, you can't be retried for the same crime ever, not just the same instance of the crime. Like, you beat one murder charge, and you have a license to kill. That's it. You can never be tried again. Kill as many as you like. Can't be guilty. Can you see why the U.S. Constitution is the great enemy of every conspiratorial group? It is opposed to its theology of man as God. Can you see why they all have waged a war against the Constitution since at least the 1790s? And do you see why the jury system is the last major bulwark against judicial tyranny? We need to understand. I want to meet the American nationalist who only acknowledges the Articles of Confederation and thinks that the Constitution is an illegitimate document.
They're out there. They're out there.
I'm surprised Gary Knorr, because Articles of Confederation do not allow for centralized power, and clearly the Constitution has not effectively prevented it.
Actually, I that wouldn't even be a bad series for me to do. Like, me and probably Cal Crucis could probably do 5 or 6 just standalone shows on why the Articles of Confederation are some of the worst political theory ever concocted. Fuck that shit up,
I mean, do you know what the actual material cause of the Constitutional Convention, the reason why
They couldn't get
why the Articles of Confederation were scrapped.
Well, they couldn't. There were a lot of immediate. The most immediate reason is they couldn't get enough people to show up to get a quorum.
Well, okay. The George Washington had a shipping company.
Yeah.
And he was getting charged tariffs by, I think it was, I forget which river it was. It may have been the Potomac, actually. And he was getting charged tariffs by both sides of the river. Right.
Yeah.
Both states.
Yeah. I mean, you get like this is like the interstate commerce clause gets lots of fucking.
It is the
shit,
commerce
but
clause. The commerce clause is why we have the whole thing.
Like you have there are even instances where in North Carolina and South Carolina low key declared war on one another. Like there was all kinds of shit, like just maelstrom shit going on.
Yeah. God damn, fucking terrible. I do not. Sovereign citizens do. By the way, several people have said sovereign citizens. Randall Shirker, George Hayduke. That is not where sovereign citizens come from. Sovereign citizens have a lot of different origins and a lot of there are multiple different origins for sovereign citizenry, and all of them are cargo cult law. Like,
yeah,
it's literally just a cargo cult. They're just all very different. I'm sure. Okay. You know what? I will say I am sure that there are sovereign citizens who are stands for the Articles of Confederation. Absolutely certain that exists. But yeah, it's not.
But it's that they don't. It's not the basis for their sovereign citizenship. It's something that they go find and then glue it on as an ex post facto.
Right. Yeah, they're like legal bagworms. They'll just like glue random crap to this sort of shell of like weird legalism. Yeah, like guys citing law, like municipal law from New York City in cases in Chicago and shit like that, and it's like, well, that doesn't fucking matter. So
we're not going to finish this book today, man.
Well, we weren't going to finish it before anyway. You thought that we were because I said it was full of endings, but this book already ended twice, and we're in the epilogue. Yeah, we can finish it. Can we do it? No, we can't. We're
gonna go watch Russian. I'm about to put Russian children's.
I don't think I have 40 pages in the tank. Russian children's cartoons in the background. We'll just start playing New Pogody. New Pogody is so good.
It's the one with these like little cartoon animals.
Yeah, New Pogody is a wolf and Zeich, the rabbit.
No, it's Bobby. You know Bobby the Russian. He's like absolutely giving me a PhD level dissertation on this show called, what is it called? I'm not.
It's gonna be fucking New Pogody.
No, it's not. It starts with an S. I respect Russians too much to abuse their language, so I'm not gonna say it. But it's
fair enough.
I don't know. No, I can't do it.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I have such an. I have like I will abuse any other language. Like I will just like fuck. I will just like drop it all and like mispronounce the living shit out of French. I was actually telling it was Bobby I was talking with yesterday. It was like I have the weirdest relationship with Russia because I view them as a near peer, and like I don't like insulting them. Like I don't like insulting Russian culture, that sort of thing. I'm like, oh god damn, y'all are as good as us. It deserves a measure of respect. I should just learn Russian.
Eurasian aliens. That's what they are. Eurasian aliens. Not my Asian aliens.
Not my Asian aliens.
Your Asian aliens.
Go
ahead.
Bobby's theory is that I am a little puffy purple ram with cross eyes who is in the world of this show is the tortured romantic, which there's a lot about Russia. Like they put a Kirby shaped fatalistic poet in their children's show.
Okay. We're gonna continue now.
Back to call it conspiracy.
Authority versus power. We must understand that there is such a thing as authority. We must distinguish authority from power. Authority, this is just formalism now. We're just gonna do formalism.
Real formalism has never been tried.
Real formalism is the only option, actually. Authority is limited power under God. It is legitimate power because it is limited by law and ethics. Political power must be limited if it is to remain legitimate. The founding fathers recognized this, and they attempted to construct a legal order which restrains political power. But to maintain itself from power seekers of a rival faith, a society must be self-governed and self-restrained. Men must say to themselves, my power is limited, therefore the state's power is limited. The state is not savior, therefore the state is not absolutely sovereign. No appeal to the idea of the state as finally sovereign can be morally valid, and I will resist all such claims, and also those who make them. Yeah. Historically, this has meant that members of society must see themselves as under an authority other than the state. There has to be an enforcer somewhere. In the West, this has always meant God. For example, we added these words in the 1950s to our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. One nation under God. Why? Because these words are consistent with American history. Also because Congress and the Supreme Court were not yet getting their concepts of law from the ultimate little old lady in tennis shoes, Madeleine Murray O'Hair. From the beginning, the essence of the American experiment was the attempt of wise men to design political institutions of legally limited power. The limitation of civil power. This is what the U.S. Constitution was originally all about. This is what the Federalist was all about. We can barely grasp that Hamilton, Madison, and Jay wrote the Federalist as a series of newspaper essays to convince the voters of New York State to ratify the Constitution. These essays were mass appeal propaganda devices 2 centuries ago. Today, we get the likes of Tom Wicker and Jack Anderson and congratulate ourselves at how literate we are for reading the editorial page first, or even if we read it after the comics, the business news, and the sports section. In fact, those who never turn to Wicker and Anderson for their moral guidelines are the better informed ones, even if their lips move when they read. Wow. Fucking guy.
That's a pretty good one, actually.
That's a pretty good one. Anti-federalists all the way, by the way.
See, again, this is another. I'm a serious federalist.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
And it's like one of those things you would not expect from me, I
guess I see it. Hamilton was black, right?
Yeah, Alexander Hamilton was black. I'm actually I'm a descendant of some of the really prominent South Carolina Federalists. There was like I'm like family history. It's another was inherited loyalties. Federalists. Mm-hmm. I actually also think that had Thomas Jefferson was, people are always invoking Thomas Jefferson on one side of this argument or the other, and they neglect that Thomas Jefferson was at the time of the Federalist Papers, the arguments over federalism. Thomas Jefferson was fomenting revolution in France and didn't actually participate. But when he came back, he helped broker the compromise that got the Constitution passed. And so, it's hard to say. I think Jefferson before the 19th century, before the Revolution of 1800, would have been a Federalist, and then only afterward starts becoming more overtly anti-federalist, and it's all tied up with slavery. But and back to Gary.
Larry. Yeah. Randall Shirker. My family was either fighting in the dirt or serving as founding fathers' personal spies. My family was scraping capers off of bushes in Sicily, or scraping taters out of the ground in Ireland. So, it has been the essence of conspiracies throughout history to substitute power for ethics and to substitute unrestricted power for limited authority. If one word summarizes the conspiratorial program, it is this one: centralization. In all things, the state is to be preeminent power, the initiating agency, as well as the final court of appeal. That's just not I mean, like, he literally just got done talking about the founding fathers who launched a conspiracy. Like, in what sense was the United States not a conspiracy? Right? I mean, especially the Constitution, given that we had the Articles of Confederation and a group of people who were in power decided, okay, well, everyone had decided on the Articles of Confederation, but we're just going to replace those.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the first things they do is conspiratorially declare independence from their own country. It's fascinating how legalistic they were about it. It's I love everything about 18th century Americans. They're just the greatest guys ever.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just like, how many people were? Well, I mean, like a fair number of people were loyalists, right?
About a third of the country were, yeah.
They were like, oh, yeah. So you just like, so these dudes sent a letter, and now we're in a war.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. Awesome. Not a conspiracy though. Anyway, there is no doubt that the two most representative revolutions in Western history were the American Revolution, and the Constitutional Settlement of 1789, and the French Revolution of 1789 to 95, and the Napoleonic Settlement of 1799 to 1815. Here we find the great political alternatives: the American decentralization of power versus the French centralization of political power; checks and balances versus bureaucratic sovereignty. That is crazy. That is bonkers. The French Revolution was mob rule. It was decentral. It was actual anarchy. It was totally decentralized.
And he's like, to come to this take, you have to just sort of softly ignore how rabidly in favor of the French Revolution and like literally participatory significant chunks of the American Revolution, like they were all like, about this shit.
Yeah, they were like, let's go send troops to help. And
yeah, they're like, we don't have any troops. So we don't have any.
We can't do that. Yeah, we actually can't. The US violated a treaty when it didn't send troops. Right? We didn't do any levies. We had a deal with the French, and we just didn't do it.
At one point prior to the War of 1812, the American Army had been reduced to 1 light battery, 4 regular regiments, and then the militias. That's how jokey we were at one point. We got our shit pushed in Ohio by a Native American army, and that was what sort of, it was like, oh, well, this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I guess we do actually need a standing army because we have an entire continent full of people who kind of want to rape us.
Yeah, what battle was that?
I don't know. There are a lot of Indian wars. No one ever makes movies about the Indian wars.
They really should, because they're fascinating. Yeah, it's the St. Clair's defeat, the Battle of Wabash.
I want a movie. I want a movie about Albert Pike.
I want a movie. When we win, the first movie is going to be about Albert Pike.
Albert fucking Pike.
Yes.
I want Willem Dafoe to play him.
Fat Willem Dafoe. He's got to get fat.
He's got to get fat. Gary Oldman. I don't know. No, Willem Dafoe's the right height. Albert Pike was a short man, I believe.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. The jury system versus administrative law, common law, innocent until proven guilty, versus Napoleonic law, guilty until proven innocent. Common law precedents versus Napoleonic codified law. In short, bottom-up society versus top-down society. The Russian Revolution was simply a better executed, more thoroughly centralized extension of the French Revolution. I don't think that's true, but okay. The church-state alliance. There must be a sustaining philosophy, indeed a sustaining religion to undergird every society. Marx was incorrect. It is not the economic mode of production that undergirds the prevailing religious and philosophical ideals. Rather, the ideals determine which sort of economy and political order can emerge. True. We must not become closet Marxists. We must not become economic determinists, Freudian determinists, or environmental determinists. Ethics is primary, not economics or political power. No, I disagree with. God, I mean, I don't even know where to start. I just okay.
Step over it.
Step over it. Yeah, we're done. There is always a necessary alliance between church and state. True. This alliance need not be tyrannical. The two institutions need to be kept separate, but the alliance always exists. Without a broadly based sense of moral legitimacy concerning the civil government or any institution which possesses power, rulers cannot rule their subjects indefinitely. To remove the king's throne, you must first remove the priests, or else convert their leaders to new beliefs. Anything less isn't a revolution, it is only a coup d'etat. That is true enough. This shift in thinking of influential priests literally took place in the decades before the French Revolution. That was one of the most brilliant and successful aspects of the program adopted by the conspirators who directed the French Revolution. A similar program was begun 3 generations ago in the United States. The capture of seminaries, church boards, and Christian colleges. The National Council of Churches has been instrumental in this capture of the robes. Again and again, the money to fund this transformation after 1920 was provided by John D. Rockefeller Jr., or one of the numerous Rockefeller foundations. To Randall Shirker, nah, man, give us the glorious theocracy.
This is the process he's describing. Is, by the way, it's what I call Germanization.
Germanization.
Yeah.
You mean like the 1880s Germans? What do you mean?
Well, it really happened over the course of a century, but there's an incredible cross-pollination of sort of American Protestant theology with German Protestant theology, and it really accelerates in the late 18th century, and that's how you really start to get that split between the main. There's a lot going on, but the main vector in the United States at this point is an institution called the Union Theological Seminary. And they're onboarding a lot of like just straight German philosophical idealism into like sort of the American, just one-shotting the American theological institution, like scholars, because they just have no idea what they're really reading. There's a lot going on there. I think I've talked about it with Prude before.
The number of I don't know. Yeah. The number of American Catholics who act like Bonhoeffer got beatified is
German Catholics actually tend to be better.
But that's totally an exposure thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly.
It's all they're all in Bavaria. Yeah.
Yes.
They like beer and the Pope. Based, yes, the best. I've said before that when we think of Germans, we really need to stop thinking of Prussians. We need to think of Bavarians.
Yeah.
Like Bavaria. Honestly, I'm for Bavarian independence. They shouldn't have to deal with all of the Prussian faggots.
Bathed and not ball pilled.
Yeah.
You know, the last time Bavaria was a separate country, it was literally the National Bolshevik Party of Bavaria.
Really?
Yes.
Tragic. Okay. Let's see. Where the fuck are we? To undermine a society, its opponents must first undermine men's faith in the existing moral and philosophical foundations of that society. This is why we find that in all cases of civilizations that have fallen into some version of heresy of centralization, there has emerged a new alliance between church and state, between new priests and kings, between new intelligentsia and politicians. Priests, you might even say Brahmins. We must recognize that in every era, anti-conspiratorialists also have their priests, kings, intelligentsia, and politicians. For every Jean-Jacques Rousseau, there was always an Edmund Burke. For every Maximilian Robespierre, there is always a George Washington. For every Karl Marx, there is always a Eugen von Baum-Brauwerk. For every Tip O'Neill, there is always a Larry McDonald. For every Walter Lippmann, there is always a Malcolm Muggeridge. For every Herblock, there is always a McNally. For every Arius, there is always an Athanasius. The question is never
naming characters from Harry Potter now.
For every for every Dumbledore, there is always a he who must not be named. For every Rand, there is a McNally. Yeah.
Damn.
The question is never kings, priests, politicians, and intelligentsia versus no kings, priests, politicians, and intelligentsia. It is always a question of whose. Yeah. Now try this one. For every David Rockefeller, there is always a question mark. For every George Soros, there is a fuck. Yeah. All of a sudden, it gets difficult. The one realm, at least. There seems to be no good guy lurking in the historical wings. Banking. There's no good guy in banking. So based, so true. There may be nice merchant bankers and central bankers. Somewhere, perhaps. There are no doubt rulers or great banking empires who love their children and donate money to the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Who hated cruelty to animals. But what we seem to be short of are presidents of major commercial banks or directors of central banks who cry out against the use of fractional reserve banking to centralize power at the expense of the public in general and borrowers in particular. Why is this? What were you going to say, Sandbatch?
No, I was going to say, it's Hitler. It's literally Hitler.
It was literally Hitler. This book answers the question. Because modern banking is fractional reserve banking. The process is described in the book and inescapably involves fraud. God damn it. People are doing this again. People are doing this again because of a recent Tucker Carlson interview. They're just losing their minds because of fractional reserve banking.
Fractional reserve banking is kind of based.
Look, it's how it works. Like,
yeah.
Look,
it's like
here is my argument. It is how it works.
Right.
What the fuck? Like, stop being surprised.
The whole idea of putting money in the bank is that you're not going to use that money. So, like, let someone else who's better.
They are going to loan it out. Everyone seems to think that, the left thinks that Elon Musk has $150 billion or $400 billion or whatever sitting in a Scrooge McDuck fucking money bin. It's not. It's Tesla. It's gigafactories. It's made up hype value in the markets. It's not sitting anywhere. And so he can't in any reasonable way be said to be hoarding wealth. And we have people who are advocating for a wealth tax, so you get taxed yearly based on your alleged net worth, which is fucking insane. Because
there's some things about that I'm not totally against.
Yeah, but it's just not it's just not possible. It's literally not possible.
What people do is they do this thing where they take the fact that runaway appraisal fraud exists, and then they sort of project it back on the institution itself. It's like, but I'm doing a Gary here, but I'm saying maybe can I say it? Maybe you just don't need so many Jews in fiscal policy creation.
Well, it's like, why the fuck? Like, okay. Number one, I don't see anything particularly wrong with fractional reserve banking, obviously. But also, why the fuck are people still surprised? Why are people still surprised about fractional reserve banking? Why are people surprised? If fractional reserve banking didn't exist, bank runs couldn't exist. Right?
Do you know who
bank runs this? Can't exist if there is no fractional reserve banking.
You know who sits down and explains this better than anyone else I have ever heard? Yeah. It's another one of my revisionist projects. In the first fireside chat, FDR explains the entire. Yeah, it's fascinating because his audience is like on paper, his audience is considerably less literate than any audience that exists today. And he sits down and explains fractional reserve banking at a very high level to them and just expects they're going to understand it. It's either the first or second fireside chat. It's one of the most riveting hours of audio you'll ever listen to.
FBI informant says Bitcoin fixes this. Bitcoin does not fix this. The only thing that Bitcoin, so there is this concept in crypto where mere possession is ownership. And that has caused people to think that, if, for example, not your platform, not your coin. So like, don't keep money in Coinbase or something like that. Which, it's not an FDIC insured account, obviously. But it doesn't serve that. You can fractionally reserve bank with any stuff. All right. Okay. Thank you for triggering my autism.
Yeah. we gotta let him talk it out now. Yeah, we gotta let him talk it out.
Look, you can fractionally reserve bank with any sort of thing that is fungible. Like, that's it. Like, you can do that.
Beads.
Yeah, you can do it with anything. But yeah. Anyway. So I'm just upset that people keep being surprised. Stop being surprised that this is how things work. You can also fractionally reserve with gold, of course. Yeah. You can fractionally reserve with gold, either with gold notes, or you can just like weigh it in separate amounts. Like, it's whatever. Well, FBI informant. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again. So we will not be responding to bringing back the gold standard. Anyway, it also creates the boom bust cycle, a cycle which manipulators can use to their advantage because they control the mechanism by which it is created, the money supply. Also, not how the boom bust cycle works.
The boom bust cycle is created by basing your entire fiscal reserves. You abolish your own national bank and your own ability to participate in the global economy, and then you tie the price of your currency to a commodity, gold, almost entirely controlled by your main geopolitical enemy, the British.
Yeah,
that's how.
There are lots of boom busts. There are lots of boom busts, and it's generally because some major thing is being significantly underpriced and causing everyone to gas it up. Like, that's what's happening. So this is not the place to go into the details of the process by which fractional reserve banking produces counterfeit money and why governments exempt the banking system from prosecution against counterfeiting. they aren't, and that's their job.
But allow
Professor
me to
Murray-
call your attention to another book published by our friends entitled The Creature of Jekyll Island.
Professor Murray Rothbard. We finally mentioned Rothbard.
There he is.
We got through the first Reagan administration without Rothbard. Has described the process more clearly than anyone ever has in his classic little booklet, What Has Government Done to Our Money?, which you can and should buy from FEE, the Foundation for Economic Education, and gives us the address, which is hilarious. Thank you so much. Lawrence Reed. You know, when Lawrence Reed died, they replaced him with a different guy with the last name Reed, spelled differently. Because the Foundation for Economic Education is nothing if not innovative. If you ever need a copy of Henry Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson, they will give it to you for free. Let me simply say that the monopoly of fractional reserve banking is inherently corrupt, inherently a process of legalized theft, and inherently power-seeking. Again and again in this book, the story has returned to the big New York banking firms. Over and over, the plans of the conspirators have originated in conference rooms of the great banks or in conjunction with the banking establishment. Why? Because money is the central institution in a division of labor economy. So control over the issue of money becomes the single most important grant of monopoly privilege that the national government can make to any private or quasi-public organization, all of which is pretty true, but not entirely true. Those who receive such a monopolistic grant know how to use it to their advantage. Those who do not receive it seldom understand the process of money creation, much like people who freak out about fractional reserve banking, that benefits it gives to those who do understand, and the catastrophes such monopolistic power invariably has led to in history. This ignorance benefits the money creators. Monetary theory is so little understood by the public, including legislators and judges, very true, and monetary institutions are so mysterious, they were designed to be that way, especially central banks, that once established, only catastrophic economic events or a dedicated leader such as President Andrew Jackson, the most based man in history, can ever produce a meaningful reform. The supposed reforms otherwise go from bad to worse, from less centralized to more centralized. Lord. Sandbatch, are you dead?
No, I'm here. I just my eyes glazed over when we started talking about Andrew Jackson, because I was like, it's like literally it's one of those things where I'm like about to. I could.
Are you not an Andrew Jackson stan?
No, I am.
We
not.
We might have to go through a. We might just have to go through a list of all 47.
I've published a list of all 47. Actually, let's see where I put him, because I can't remember exactly where I put him. Oh, it's Ecologica Americana. It's Songs for a Stranger. God, I've published a lot on Substack this year.
You've been very busy. Yeah.
I haven't done anything since the accident, but I mean, it's because I've been going crazy. And like writing, and almost, it's bad. It's not a good way to control your life, but like writing is the thing. It's like my stress ball. Let's see.
Give it a good squoze.
It's also, then I'm also kind of making like what's one of my primary income streams too. Is like kind of mixing my peanut butter and, tobacco. I mean, but let's see.
You decided to not go with chocolate there.
Yeah, so I have my top 10 are pretty predictable. I have Jefferson first, FDR second, Woodrow Wilson third, James K. Polk fourth, George Washington fifth, Theodore Roosevelt sixth, Eisenhower seven, Kennedy eight. Who I was being a little generous. Madison 9 and Monroe 10. But then I think down in the bottom. Oh, we gotta go all the way. Is
Jackson last?
No, he's not last, but he is. I have my bottom 10 starting at 37. I have Barack Obama 37, George W. Bush 38, Andrew Johnson 39, Franklin Pierce 40, Millard Fillmore 41, Warren Harding number 42. Sorry, Cal. 43, James
Wow.
Buchanan. 44, Andrew Jackson. 45, Martin Van Buren. And 46, Abraham Lincoln.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Van Buren boys are going to be out for you if you visit New York City.
Yeah, it's Rachel Haywire asked me today why I don't ever come to New York City, and I said because the Van Buren boys.
The Van Buren boys. Oh man. Why the hell is your color yellow? Well, we started the gang late and all the good colors were taken. Oh my god. All right. So there is something is going to happen for the first time in all of the Call It conspiracies in the next paragraph I am glancing at.
I know it's coming. I saw it.
We're gonna see. We already mentioned Murray Rothbard. So it's gonna happen. All right. We are the unification of man. We are monotheists in the West. The God of our civilization must be a unified God. For over 1,000 years, the West, being Christian with local Jewish subdivisions, historically affirmed the unity of mankind. All men are created in the image of God, who is himself unified. But at the same time, Orthodox Christians and Orthodox uncapitalized Jews don't limit this to Orthodox Jews alone. Have always I don't limit this to Orthodox Jews alone. Always simultaneously proclaimed that mankind is divided ethically. There are good men and bad men, saved and lost, saints and sinners, covenant keepers and covenant breakers. Thus, the goal of the unification of mankind is necessarily limited. Men will never be unified ethically. There will always be a struggle between good and evil. The conspiracy will always be around. The point is, then, to construct institutions that will preserve the peace, civil, ecclesiastical, educational, economic, etc., but which will also suppress the outward manifestations of evil. Warning, outward, not inward evil. In the West, we have always recognized that God saves men, not the state. Laws must suppress outward evil, but they must never be designed to save men ethically. The state is not God. It is not supposed to make men good. It is only supposed to restrain men from public evil acts. The state has not been granted the power to replace God as Savior. Thus, Western civilization has historically avoided the doctrine of salvation by law, especially statist law. Only kind. Whenever and wherever the doctrine of salvation by civil law has been preached, then and there we have found a conspiracy against Western civilization. So I feel like this is where you get in the privacy of my own home. It doesn't matter if I'm raping a dog. Right? Would that be outward public evil? It seems like he's saying the law is only supposed to be about outward public evil. But the motivation of conspiracies is simple: to be as God. The conspiracies of the West, being Western, have also adopted the notion of the unity of the Godhead. But who is this God? It is man himself. To evolve to this position of divinity, men therefore need to be unified, not just unified through voluntary cooperation, such as in a free market transaction, but unified ethically. Men must have the same moral, political, and economic goals. Diversity of opinion concerning these humanistic goals must not be tolerated. Mankind must not be allowed to reveal differences of opinion on fundamentals. Now there are 3 ways to achieve this unity: persuasion, conversion, manipulation, and execution. The first approach takes forever, or at least it seems to take forever. It also eats up lots of resources. It takes teams of missionaries. People just never seem to agree on these humanistic first principles. They bicker, they battle, they refuse to be persuaded. Mankind reveals its lack of agreement on religion and ethics. This, you understand, must not be tolerated. If you cannot persuade men to cooperate either by force or reason, or an appeal to self-interest or moral appeal, then you have only 2 choices remaining: manipulation or execution. Either you confuse the bickering factions by means of an endless process of shifting alliances, thereby gaining their cooperation under a unified but necessarily secret elite of planners, or else one faction must eliminate all rivals by force. You kill your opponents or make them slaves. There is no third alternative. Given the false doctrine of the ethical unity of man, man is in principle ethically unified, this theology proclaims. Therefore, any visible deviations from this hypothetical unity must be suppressed, one way or another. I think I just fundamentally disagree that the idea of conspiracy is like man seeking apotheosis. I think I just fundamentally disagree with that assertion.
Yeah, I think I do too.
Like it's too much. Like it's too much. Like you can just say people want shit. Like people want like titties and booty holes and cash and cool cars. Like people want worldly temptations. Like people don't want to build a Tower of Babel unless it produces a lot of like rent income. Like, yeah, sadly, like, you know, maybe we would be better off if people had more like transcendental goals.
And it's
But,
like, yeah,
like,
so don't do any of this unless it helps you become a Section 8 slumlord.
Like there are people who like there are people who are into like absolutely insane levels of like seeking human apotheosis. Like I'm not saying that there aren't people who want to transform themselves and the world. I don't just mean,
you know what
I don't
think
just mean troons.
People go too far one way or the other, I think. You know,
what do you mean?
They'll either be like total ascetics that withdraw entirely from the world, or they'll be like some fucking finance. They'll be like some finance bro or some wannabe finance bro who's like trying to figure out how to monetize the time spent with your parents.
The air. Yeah. Monetize the time spent with your parents. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, boomers keeping track of like how much you owe them for rent when you're like a 6-year-old, right?
There's totally people out there doing that, I'm sure.
I've definitely heard of people like on their, like the whole like kicking you out of the house at 18 is fucking insane, like absolutely fucking psychotic. And that definitely happened to some people.
This is where I'm a little Anglo. This is where our cultural differences actually show up a little bit, because like,
yeah,
I was at 17 like a fucking shaken up 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola, explosively ready to get the fuck out of there. I was let me go. I'm going to San Francisco and I'm going to do exactly the opposite of everything that you have fucking been telling me to do for the last 18 years. I'm like, that's very Anglo. It's very Anglo. It's like, yeah, well, I'll show you, Dad. You spend 20 years doing, I'll show you, Dad, and then you spend the next 20 years turning back into your father, and that's the Anglo cycle of being.
So I love my family, and fortunately have never had any sort of like extremely contentious relationship with anyone in my family. To my like immense blessing. But you know, like I did leave home at 18 to go to college and never returned. But it's not like I was kicked out. Like I know that if I ever needed to go back, I could have.
I think you have to remember that the Anglos don't really like their kids all that much. Like, so, you know, like traditionally the Anglo thing to do is like they're raised by a wet nurse until they're 6, and then there's like, you know, their parents probably their parents are probably married, maybe don't live in the same cities. and then you get like shuffled around to boarding schools until you're 18.
Thank God I'm not an Anglo, I guess.
I mean, like if you actually look at the Anglo family system, it is cold. It is
you
cold.
Essentially can only be you. Okay, I mean, I don't say thank God. I obviously thank God I'm not Anglo, because I'm not Anglo.
Yeah,
I am myself. I am the result of my own conditions.
Yeah,
so
right, exactly.
Yeah. So Randall Shirker says, Cap, how mad would you be if I became rich and more or less became LMD's rich patron? Yeah, don't throw me in the briar patch. Like, what the hell do you mean? Yeah, that I would be so mad. I would be so mad if we got paid a lot to do this. I do it for fun, but I obviously could never replace my actual income by any of the shows that I do. It's just like way too heavy of a lift. I'd have to be like at least, I don't know. I'd have to be like at least Tim Dillon level in order to actually replace my income. So it's not happening. Anyway. Let's see here. Sandbatch is the perfect character to demonstrate the Anglo ideal. Coming from Oz, I know that this is meant as an insult. So
I think he really doesn't like me, which is I don't whatever.
No. This is how he's
coming to get you. I'm coming anyway.
If
you're anywhere between fucking Fredericksburg, Virginia, and the fucking Pennsylvania border, you're in my sights, man. Yeah.
And I think I thank you, Sandbatch, for playing into Oz's parasocial.
That's what I am. I mean, I always have to remember that I am one of the things you have to remember about being a content creator or what the fuck ever is that you're just a dancing monkey. You're like it's like you're like there's like creating content, like whatever. You have the social standing of a fucking actor in ancient Rome. Like we're one step above whores.
one step above. Sometimes you like the horse to be on top.
Right.
Let's see here. Kinds of conspiracy, secrecy, Rhodesia. He mentioned Rhodesia. That's pretty cool. Conspiracy plus what else? Czar. Oh my God, are we gonna do this? We can finish it next time. We totally can. So
we're gonna do it.
We are going to do it because we can.
I've been waiting on you to cut bait on this one for like 2 weeks now, but it's like, again, no, we can't because
this
is the second book. Well, it's the third book, really, but like it's like you can't set this precedent so early. So
we're gonna ramrod through it, and then we actually do have a book from Wendy painting to do, so it'll be good. I wish that we had her next book. Maybe I should ask if she'll let us read the rough draft. Yeah, I might. I don't know. I might do that.
Who produces a book first? Wendy painting or Gio? Gio
Panettone.
Yeah.
I think that Gio probably does not. I think it's probably Wendy. Wendy.
Yeah.
I think that it's Owen Zaleski, George Martin. I would say probably. I would probably say Gio produces a.
He's not going to finish that book. Like George R. Martin is never finishing that book.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it might take Gio some years, like, right? Because Gio's one of like God's strongest ADHD soldiers. He's like Gio's the only like I don't think ADHD is real for most people, but for Gio, it's 100% real. He's the only person who actually has ADHD.
Like with me, I don't actually have problems producing First of all, I set a hard limit on myself because you were talking about the book spine thing. I actually have like a hard, like anything. My MA thesis was 66 pages. That's how brief
That's pretty brief. Yeah.
That's how I am all, but it's the Latin aspect of me. I am a huge fan of word economy. I would rather produce 5 short books than one really long one. Some people go the other way. Like Wendy obviously goes the other way. Yeah, she likes the big ones. Sorry,
absolutely.
Wendy.
It's pronounced it's Giovanni Pancetta. That's the. Let's see. Yeah. Honestly, Randall Shurker says, listen, we all know life would be better if Ritalin could be bought over the counter.
I'm not a big fan of Ritalin.
I don't actually think so. I think that most pharmaceuticals should not be available. There are lots of pharmaceuticals that shouldn't be available.
I don't like methylphenidate. I am less hesitant about dextroamphetamines, but yeah, a lot of people have no idea. Like a lot of people like one of the things that's really wrong with the social fucking levels today is there's a lot of people on amphetamines that have never given a second thought to what the physical and mental consequences of taking 70 milligrams of Vyvanse a day are. And it turns out at the society-wide level, they're vast. You know, they are vast.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Lord. Penultimo says Sandy likes to produce a steady stream of small turds rather than one big log. He's rabbit maxing.
Yeah.
He's rabbit maxing. Absolutely.
The only picture in my book is a picture of a rabbit, actually.
Really? Oh, that's what it is. Zeich. Randall Shurker. All I'm saying is diphenhydramine Benadryl is over the counter despite the
that shit is incredibly
I
toxic.
knew. Does it bother you that I knew exactly what it was when all he did was DPH?
I knew it. I knew what it was too.
Yeah, no, that stuff is unbelievably toxic and absolutely crazy. Also, histamines in general are crazy. So antihistamines are also crazy. Yeah, but we're going to read this last page and then we're going to call it because we got 4 minutes and that's just enough. 2 kinds of conspiracy. The average citizen knows about various conspiracies that proclaim unification by execution. We have seen their work in history, the Jacobins and the French Revolution, the Bolshevik Party and the Russian Revolution, and Aryan masters of the Nazi Revolution. They achieved consensus by terror. The Nazis did not have a revolution. They were elected. They used the electoral system. It's the only example of the type of thing that he's been advocating this entire fucking book. Working. They achieve consensus by terror, endless terror, the revolution in permanence. The old description is true. The revolution eats its children. I like the Wits edition, but not soon enough. What the average citizen does not readily recognize is the existence of the other form of conspiratorial organization, the kind described in this book. This kind bases its strategy and tactics on the principle of unification by manipulation. This form of conspiracy operates under a very different set of presuppositions and assumptions about the way to achieve universal ethical unity. Its preeminent hypothesis is this: ideology is ultimately irrelevant. Ideological differences cannot possibly be the ultimate, for we know that all ultimate disagreements are ethical disagreements, and mankind cannot possibly be ethically divided. By definition, any perceived ethical disunity just has to be a temporary phenomenon. To admit that such ethical disunity is fundamental and permanent is to admit that mankind is not God, for God cannot be ethically divided against himself. Therefore, they reject the idea. They believe that there are always ways to overcome ethical or ideological disunity. The best way to overcome this temporary disunity, of course, is to make a deal, preferably a business deal. Best of all, make a business deal at taxpayers' expense. Recall David Rockefeller's explanation to Bill Moyers. Conspiratorial humanists all agree that mankind ought to be unified ethically, where all men share the same cosmic vision, but they disagree about the hypothesis that mankind is, in fact, ethically unified. The conspirators of execution acknowledge that all men clearly are not yet ethically unified. Therefore, some men, indeed millions of them, will have to be removed from visible existence, the execution, the gulag. If they persist in their rebellion against the truth, what kind of truth? Jacobin truth, proletarian truth, or Nazi truth. They all argue and act the same way. The pattern is repeated because the theology is repeated. In contrast, the conspirators of manipulation dare not admit such a thing. To do so would deny their theological premise of the existing underlying ethical unity of mankind, meaning mankind properly understood. They, of course, are just the people to properly understand mankind, whether mankind agrees with them or not. And so they begin their process of education, exactly the thing that Gary North is supposing, which is not to say that, that makes him a hypocrite, but it does mean that he is noting a path that actually works and saying that we should use that, or people who agree with him should use that. In any case, that is it. That is it. Next time we will finish this book. I promise you. That will be all there is of Call It Conspiracy. And we'll be on to greener pastures about more exciting topics. Ones where I will not be so goddamn upset about, I don't know, how dated it is, sadly. But Sandbatch, what do you have for the people?
Well, I'm coming to DC to find Oswald Art here pretty soon. So
Oswald Art is going to be chained to Lindsey Graham's radiator.
I'll be waiting for you in some DMV parking lot. But of course I'm gonna try to. My brain is settling back, and I've written more poetry. I keep writing poetry, and I've got some that's so kind of weird and experimental. I'm kind of embarrassed to publish it, but I'm going to be back on the Substack. I'm actually going to be doing a lot of history stuff on the Substack, and so those of you who like my history, I think most people probably like my history takes more than my poetry takes, just because the law of numbers says that the market for poetry is quite small, and you all have been wonderful about hanging with me through this re-exercise of my ancient obsession. But I've got the book coming out, and other than that, I'm like really still just recovering. I'm low energy right now. Dog days of summer, low energy.
Yep. Well, with that, we are going to call it. We will see you next time, and we will finish up Call It Conspiracy.
You're discouraged from questioning and thinking critically. You must accept the word of the leaders. They make you feel guilty if you do question or argue. Your environment is often controlled, cutting you off from friends, family, school, previously held beliefs. They want you to become dependent, provide a poor diet, poor health care, little sleep, and long, exhausting hours of work to make you physically weak and lower your ability to think clearly. Subtly, your self-confidence gets undermined, and your self-image or sense of identity is changed. The leaders control channels of communication. They cut off or put down outside sources of information. Then they bombard you with what they want you to think. They use strong peer pressure, playing on your desire to be loved and accepted. The leaders may promise rewards if you obey them and punishment if you don't, but they alternate harshness and leniency in order to confuse you. The leaders manipulate language, giving special meanings to words that only insiders understand. This is to make you feel like you're part of a special, important, or elite group, and that outsiders are inferior, dangerous, or doomed. You have to confess your shortcomings, mistakes, or misbehavior, sometimes even if these things never really happened. And meanwhile, your time and activities are tightly controlled. You don't have much privacy or energy or time to think because you're too busy doing monotonous, repetitive tasks. The leaders try to control you and even your sexuality, everything about you. They want to exploit you for their own enrichment, their own power or grandiosity. If they succeed, you will declare your loyalty unto its leaders, rejecting your old values and way of life. Without realizing it, you will have been changed into a person who is being controlled by a totalist cult.